Here we go. What a night. You know, it's always sad to see some of the news that was late breaking, but as having a podcast, late breaking news sometimes is just phenomenal. And as you can see, I got the great J-Dub City with me here right now. We've got a great panel about to show up. Everyone's running a little late. This happens on a Thursday. People work on Thursdays. It's just the way it is. So we're going to be waiting for the great Nib, Death Singer. Porter Rock is on the way as well. Not to mention David Faulkner is going to be joining us to go over those quarterly reports that you guys need to know about, not just what you read about online. He'll break it down line by line. It's going to be an outstanding show. Please, guys, do hit that like button. I don't know if you guys saw, but I'll do a quick promo here. Shout out to Echo, who's also in the chat. We went ahead and did a test stream this past week. Again, nothing fancy, nothing great over on Twitch, just making sure the audio visuals worked. We had new systems set up. We'll be streaming again this weekend. Sunday's the next day, and then after Sunday, we're going to be on a regular and reoccurring schedule, folks. So again, go over there, and if you're really bored and you want to do something right now, you can go ahead over to Mooch TV over on Twitch. Just go ahead and hit that follow button. I recommend you listen to this show first, then go over there and do that. It's M00CHTV everywhere. Please do tweet it out everywhere. We get the link also in the chat. I appreciate everyone that's kind of rolling in. Late breaking news, guys. We are going to be talking about Fair Games, Jade Raymond, Haven Studios. We're going to be talking about all of that, and as well, the great Doom game that came out today. Some people got to play it a little earlier on the early access. We'll get into that as well. But listen, let me not wait any further, guys. Right above that description, which is a phenomenal synopsis of tonight, is the like button and the subscribe button and the join button. There's buttons galore. Just click one of those, will you? Your name comes up in lights, and we really appreciate it. Great to see Firefighter Alf here, Mary Wilcox, Rob Jones, El Nini. I see a bunch of guys. JC 2013 who popped in over and hung out with us during the stream over on Twitch this past week. That was fantastic. Guys, without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce the great J-Dub City. You guys know him. If you're not following him on Twitter or X now, I don't really know why you have the app at all. Jay, welcome back to CrossFire, buddy. And, you know, listen, I reached out to you and said, Jay, can you do the show? You said, yeah, man, count on me. I'll be there. But, Jay, we didn't know we were going to have this kind of a great show. We got topics galore, and they were kind of just all falling in right after noon today, buddy. But how you doing this evening?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Can't complain. Can't complain. A great Thursday evening.
Absolutely.
Time for some games.
Yeah, and you know, it's a shout out to the great. By the way, give a shout out real quick to the great David Faulkner. He just wrote me. He says he's got a sick little one. I said, listen, David, we'll do it another week. That's fine. You know, for Thursdays are tough, Jay. You know, I mean, we went from Fridays to Thursdays, but I'll tell you right now, it's because Fridays games used to come out on Friday, right? Now they come out on Thursday. They used to come out on Tuesday. If you go back far enough, Jay, that used to be the release date. You know what? Everything is just absolute. Nothing is off the charts now. You can do whatever you want, I think, in the gaming industry, right, Jay? I don't know. What is it you can't do these days?
Man, you nailed it.
I know it. Well, listen, let me ask you a couple questions here, Jay. First and foremost, let's talk about this whole situation with Jade Raymond, because people want to know about it. Guys, by the way, please do like this and tweet it out. Let everybody know that we're live here in New York as we kind of wait for the rest of the panel to show up. Jay, this is something where you read it, and I see a lot of people online saying, you know, Jade Raymond's kind of bounced around from a couple of teams now. She had a lot of claim to fame back in the day with Assassin's Creed, a few other titles. But, you know, Jay, you're in big business these days. You're in big business, and you know that a resume can get you pretty far, Jay. Is this one of those situations where she's kind of rusting out her morals and what things that had happened ages ago, or is this just, it's just bad luck? Because sometimes you just get it. Sometimes an idea just doesn't come to fruition. What's the situation with Jade Raymond as far as her going from studio to studio right now and now leaving PlayStation as well? Do you think that maybe she's gonna retire, or do you think that she's just going to go on to another project?
I'll be honest. Like you said, you know, people look at the resume. You know, the resume looks good, but you know, in this modern era, it becomes a "What have you done for me lately?"
It has.
You know, if you show me a resume where you built NASA spaceships back in the late '70s, I'm going to say, okay, very impressive. What have you done for the last 30, 40 years? Like, I need something, something now. And I mean, what was the last game she put out? I don't know. I don't really, I don't know. I mean, the way some people are talking or make it seem like she's a Neil Druckmann or a Cory Barlog or Hideo Kojima or something like that. But I've never put her, honestly, I don't really know the lady that well.
No, and it's funny you say that, Jay, because that was actually one of the lines I had down. Everyone's acting. Shout out, by the way, to Pat Man Jones. Shout out to Pat Man. I've known Pat for a long time. He comes into the room into the chat, Jay, and he's like, Jade Raymond's gone, and he's like shocked. Come on, Pat Man, you're not that shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, forget about Jade. We're saying this because Jade was the captain of the ship, okay? But when it came down to it, Jay, I mean, we've been saying for weeks, if not months, fair games from what we saw may or may not hit. You know what I mean? A lot of times when you're dealing with these types, a lot of people were saying that was going to be like a payday game. You know what I mean? Very similar. I'm not saying it was a 1-for-1 by no means, but similar. And when you have a situation, Jay, like that, Payday 3 didn't do well at all. That launched in Game Pass. It was everywhere. It didn't get any attention at all.
Yeah.
You know?
No, you're right. You're right. Part two did well. Part three came like a fart in the wind.
That's right.
Like, it was like, okay. And there's a lot of guys were hyping it up because it was coming to the Game Pass, but nobody that I know tried it. So again, it's one of those things where what have you done for me lately? It's possible that, hey, listen, her resume just doesn't pull it anymore. And if you can't pull these projects together when you're the head lady of a studio, a head person of a studio, I think people are going to be going forward. It's probably going to be hard for her to get someone to finance any of her projects. Like, what have you done? From what I understand, this is like her second or third.
Yeah, it is.
Studios she's trying to do something, and none of them came to fruition. So that's like it's almost going to be like a you problem with her. So I don't know. I think
well,
the industry is going to
Jay, let me ask you this, Jay, because this is a quote here. A Sony spokesperson added that the company is, in quotes, committed to supporting Haven Studios and excited to continue the journey. Fair Games was originally slated for release in fall 2025, but had been delayed to next spring, people are saying. So this is a unique situation because when Concord was pulled, okay, Firewalk Studios was absolutely, it was just kibosh right away. This seems like they're still sticking with Haven Studios. So just from the homework you've done over the years, Jay, and I'm going to get to the super chats. By the way, the super chats are working. It's a miracle, guys. I appreciate all of those. It'll help because I'm trying to get that. I want to get that Doom game. We got to get that Doom game, and I might stream that as well. But listen, here's the deal, Jay. When it comes down to it, at the end of the day, they're sticking with this. So do they see talent within the studio and they just scrap the game? Do they let the game come out, then pull it if it doesn't work? This is dangerous territory right here. If they have doubts and they did some sort of a census where they had a quality group come in and check this out and it got poor ratings, isn't that a situation, Jay, where I know, listen, the community is going to have a field day with it. Videos are going to be made, and rightfully so. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but realistically, Jay, between me and you, if the game is not great, you're better to cancel it than to go through a Concord. Don't release it and then pull it. I would say you just cancel it.
Well, yeah, that does make sense, but you got to realize, I'm pretty sure, I don't know how many years this game was in development. I don't know how much money they gave her to do this. It could be a position. See, here's the thing: there's not enough details for us to know.
That's right.
It could be, hey, the game is ready, it's completed, and she's like, hey, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on. I'm done. Or they could have, Sony could have been like, "Hey, listen, this project is not going the way we thought it would go. We're not going to fund. We're not going to fund it anymore." And maybe, we just don't know. And that's the part when you're in the nitty gritty of what goes on behind, closed doors of these corporations. You don't know. So we tend to fill in the blanks with our own, biased minds and stuff like that. We want the juicy stuff. We want somebody screaming and somebody calling the cops and yanked out and thrown out in the street. We want that type of story. The thing is we don't know. We don't know if Fair Games is ever going to come out. Fair Games could be completed and ready to come out.
Yeah,
we just don't know. I haven't seen anything on Fair Games. Literally, we haven't seen one speck of gameplay. And I think that says a lot about Sony's and even Microsoft's and other studios, their council projects. Sony and you found out. Well, we found out behind the scenes. Sony counts like 10 different projects, But then Yoshida comes out and say, "Hey, we cancel stuff all the time. Sometimes we shelf stuff, sometimes we don't. But that's not transparent to gamers because they only care about what as a gamer. You should only care about ones that they've shown you gameplay for, and ones that you can wish list and pre-order, and ones that come out.
Well, Jay, while I give a
You know,
shout out to some of the people in chat, let me ask you this question real quick. What about the new management at PlayStation? This is a situation where there's no nonsense right now. And let me tell you something. As many people want to, again, if you want to bash it and say, oh, this is, Jim Ryan's fault and they shouldn't have went down that alley. I think you even have PlayStation fans that'll tell you that they're not happy with that direction that they went towards with the 12 live action games and all that. But this new administration that's in there currently is going back to the old roots, and they're just not going to stand for it. If it doesn't pass a certain test, it's just dead to them. It's dead to them. So they're not going to try it, Jay. I don't think they're going to keep trying that. Now, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I mean, the new leadership, the new CEO, they're just not going to go that route. They're not going to say, well, we'll put it out there. We'll see how it goes.
Well, we just saw from the latest financials, they're making more money than Nintendo and Xbox combined, right?
Right.
They made over $32 billion, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
I tell you what, and that's with Concord, right? That's with the Concord failure. I'm pretty sure those guys are like, listen, this $32 billion, this is what we want. We don't want to waste money on shit that's not going to bring in money. It's not going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they may have to get rid of some stuff because projects take years before if it's going to be, the next hottest thing or not.
Yeah.
And so, we just don't know. But I wish her well on her future endeavors. Like I said, I really don't know her. I know a lot of people talk. You hear about Jade Raymond. But if you were a celebrity, like I said, like back in the day, I will always go back to, what have you done for me lately? Have you delivered a good game for me lately? Well, if the last project you've worked on was 20 years ago, I don't know. You can't be a rock star to me.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And that was the initial question, Jay, when it comes down to it. The resume is impressive, but unfortunately, the last few years it hasn't added up to what was going on in the beginning there. I just think that at the end of the day, I don't really know much about her either. I don't have a resume in front of me, but I mean, this is kind of like, this almost feels like a strike three. And listen, the thing is, in the industry, maybe they'll give you another shot. I don't know. And with Haven Studio still being there under Sony's thumb, I think we would have heard the game was canceled if they were just going to get rid of it. I don't think this news would have came out, although maybe the news kind of got leaked that she left, and we haven't really heard a lot. But again, it's a spokesperson from Sony saying, we are committed to supporting Haven Studios and excited to continue the journey. That would mean to me that they are going to move forward with Fair Games and put that game out there. Couple super chats here. Jay Hart, I appreciate it, guys. He says, is Fair Games DOA? Listen, as of today, Jay, no. As of today, no. As far as we know, that game is still going to come out. Now, is it going to be delayed? I think that already is certain. This is something that was probably slated for the end of 2025. Now it's moving, I heard, spring of 26. I bet you it gets bumped even further to the right, to be honest with you. Shout out to El Nini. He says, the next Xbox ARM. Oh, we're going to talk about that. Believe me, Jay's got his notes. El Nini, don't you worry about that. And then All Hail Me, great name, by the way. He says, last week in regards to GTA 6, someone said most players play on quality mode, but that's false. 75% of PS5 gamers play on performance mode. I don't have those stats in front of me, but I can tell you this much, Jay. In the community, very few people tell me that they're going to go quality mode first. That I can tell you.
Mark Cerny already said that. He said that was, they looked at the stats and he said majority of the gamers play on the performance mode. That's why they decided to go with the direction that they did with the Pro. So.
No, and shout out to Rob64. He says, will Crap be on today? Shout out to Crap Gamer, by the way. Me and Crap were speaking earlier today. He's not feeling so well, so Crap will be back next week, hopefully. No, Crap is not going to be able to make it tonight. I was hoping to get a Crap rant, to be honest with you guys. Shout out to Crap. Hopefully he's feeling better. Anonymous Boss says, what's up, Mooch? J-Dub, mods and chat salute. PS5, the best place to play. Hit that like button. I agree with you, boss. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, Jay, I think that, and of course, it's funny, I got to give the community some credit, and it's early yet, but I didn't see too much of the fake outrage, you know what I mean? Like, people just going, oh my God, what's going on? People have been bashing Fair Games since the minute they even saw the trailer, which didn't even have any gameplay in it.
Yeah. It's one of those things, and it's listen, when you're on top, when you're number one, people look for you to fall, and everything is, oh my god, it's life and death, and then you come out and announce how many consoles you sold and how much money you've made, then everybody go back into their little sunken place and wait for the next fake outrage.
I completely
But
agree.
but Mooch, you know what? It's a good thing because all you got to do is just keep proving them wrong. That should be the goal. Keep proving people wrong. All the naysayers, all the people with the talk about the Trojan horses and all kind of stuff. Just PlayStation just keeps proving them wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this then. So if you think that's the case here, how about Marathon, Jay? Because let's just kind of go down this whirlpool for a second. So Marathon, I didn't get into the early access or whatever they're calling it, the alpha, the beta. I'm not sure what they were calling it. So I didn't get into that.
Yeah.
I did watch, shout out to the great Persona. You guys know Gaming with Persona from What's Up PlayStation. Persona got a code. He played it. He wasn't enthralled, Jay. And you know Persona, man. I got to tell you, I really value Persona's opinion when it comes to that stuff. I mean, he was a massive Destiny fan. Played Call of Duty like crazy. He was doing COD Sundays for ages with the great Jay Barry. These guys, and he said it just wasn't his bag. He said there was a lot of things wrong. The AI was just not great. He said the world was too big, not enough enemies, not enough things to do. I was watching him, and as he was saying this, I'm seeing that firsthand. I'm like, well, you know what? Yeah, I guess that kind of does look like that. Is Marathon going to be another one? Because I mean, Bungie is a credited studio. Now, forget what we were saying before with Haven Games and what happened to Jade the last couple of attempts of making a game. Bungie, you guys can say whatever you want. You could say they maybe fell from grace a little bit from the start of Destiny 2 to where it ended. It actually ended fantastic. What was it? Final shape. I think that you can't sit here and not say we're not going to give them a chance. I think I was listening to Skill Up, Jay. I said this a couple weeks ago on the show. He thought the way they're going to handle Marathon was the game will come out, and I'm not using the word bare bones, Jay, but come out and it won't have all the content, kind of like Destiny. Remember when Destiny first came out and we were doing that same mission forever back in 2014?
Yeah.
They're going to add to it. So his logic was what you're going to get from Bungie this September is not the same game you're going to see from Marathon when we get to next September. It'll be a complete 3.0. You'll have a lot more going on. The thing is I don't know with the landscape we're in right now and the way streamers play games, they don't always go back, Jay. So when a game gets hot later on, it doesn't necessarily transpire into viewership for Twitch or YouTube gaming, and it doesn't necessarily get gamers to go back and try the game. So, and they're charging for it. So what's the fate of Marathon here? Do we give Bungie the benefit of the doubt and give them the time they're going to need to cook? And I don't mean now. I mean even after the game releases. Or is this another one where it's just going to leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth and every live service game after Helldivers 2 has just kind of soured?
Well, here's the thing. We don't know. That's the thing about it. Gamers are very fickle.
Yeah.
A lot of gamers, they didn't really care about the idea of Helldivers 2. They didn't care about, a lot of these games that come out, some of the top played games right now, gamers weren't really hyped about. And they come out and for whatever reason they're successful and they keep going. We just don't know. It could come out and it's a major hit. And it could be some games are just, if it's a different type of genre, it's just not for you, but it's for other people. You don't know. Like, for example, you look at the PC market, who knew a game called Banana would be like the number one game, right? You just don't know. You don't know what you're gonna get. Like, who the hell plays that shit? And we laugh about it, but clearly there's a crap load of people that does. I think there's two conversations that need to be had. There's with the PlayStation community, PlayStation guys. A lot of them, publicly say they don't like live service games, and Sony shouldn't try to do live service games. And then you got the other crowd that, the top 20 played games every month for years have been live service games.
That's right.
So, if you're a corporation and you're making a game and you say, hey, I want my game to make a lot of money. So what are these gamers playing? You look at that list. Oh, they're playing these games. Okay, I'm going to make a game kind of like those.
That's right.
And you make a game like that and everybody, who's asking for that? Who wants that? But it's like, You
You
guys, this is
are.
what you're
You know what?
playing every
You
year.
know what
This is
makes
why
me
you
laugh,
put all your money.
J-Dub?
Shout out to the
You know
great
what
Willie
makes me laugh,
Gamer,
J-Dub?
everybody. What's up, Willie?
What's up, Willie?
What makes me laugh so much, J-Dub, just bouncing off your point, is when a game does sell for a premium, people are outraged that it's not free to play and not a live service game. It's like, make up your flipping mind. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, it's so
I
funny.
would rather pay for a game, whether it be 30, 40, $50, and never have to spend another dime than to get it free to
Oh,
play
preaching,
and
bro.
get nickel and
Preaching, bro.
dime for every little thing. But this is where there's a split in gaming. There's a split in the market. It's like what gamers say online and in YouTube videos and in podcasts versus where their dollars really go, right? That somebody's lying. And it's not, the data doesn't lie. It shows, like a lot of people when Concord came out, everybody, oh, who's asking for this? Nobody wants an Overwatch phone. And then, this company goes and slap a Marvel sticker on Overwatch, and then it's like a big success. It's like, okay, well, you gamers just said you didn't want an Overwatch clone, but
Mm.
it has Marvel characters in it, and you're there day one, and oh, this is what I want. It's like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
just like what do I don't know. That's why I say we have to wait for stuff to come out.
I'm still
Judging
hurting about
gamers,
Concord, bro. Just you saying Concord just hurts me,
yeah.
bro. It gets me to my
Judging
soul, man.
Yeah, judging gamers' reaction, knee-jerk reaction online, it's always the worst way to gauge anything, and I'm going to tell you why. Remember Assassin's Creed, all the outrage and stuff about that before it came out, and
That's
then it
right.
came out and it scored really well, and
Yep.
everybody played it. It was a great game. You just
Yeah.
you kind of almost have to tune the nonsense out until the game drops, and then I get it,
Yeah.
you got the streamer side of it, but then you have the actual gamers who just play the game. They don't stream. They don't do everything else, which I think is the majority of people. The majority of people, they just play games. But then you have us. We're so in tune with the industry, what goes on behind closed doors, what the outrage is over here, what's it over there. Like we're in the know.
Mm-hmm.
So it may seem like, hey, gamers are not asking for this. It's like, no, that's just the people who are saying that in our little small bubble. But
Yeah.
clearly, there's a bunch of people that were playing Banana. There's a bunch of people who play CS:GO every week. There's a
That's
bunch of
right.
people who play Marvel Rivals every week. There's, Pride is still on the top played game, 25 years straight. So, and we always say, oh man, we Pride of card, it's the same thing. This is it's just it's crazy.
Well,
I
somebody
just
was saying it in the chat, and I think it was hold on, SOT. He goes, remember all the hate and the lack of enthusiasm for Helldivers 2 the weeks leading up to its release.
Yeah,
That's
facts,
just
bro.
right.
I was
That's
consistent about that game. I was
yes.
well hyped for it because I loved the first, and I knew Arrow had a pedigree, bro. They're legit. They are serious talent,
yeah.
and I was hyped for it. And people were like, "Wooly, you're capping," and they were bashing it, bro. They was like, "It's going to be mid." I was like, "Nah, just wait." And
So
yeah, man, it blew up.
let me ask you this, and Willie, I'll start with you on this question here. This is interesting. So I didn't get to it last week, and I felt bad, but boy, oh boy, did it line up for this week right now. So last week it was announced that they're going to have Team LFG, which is not Let's Effing Go. Let's looking for group,
Such a good name.
right? So it is a great name, great name, made up of a lot of Bungie folks. Because we saw when Sony went in, right? They said Bungie's still independent as far as we know. They're still making some independent. I think Sony came in and said, we're going to go ahead and say a few things. And they went ahead and pulled some of the Bungie talent out and made this Team LFG. Again, now they're going to be doing a team-based action genre type of game. So again, it falls into that world. That's a small risk. I even think what was going on with Haven Studios is a small risk. Firewalk, like those weren't it wasn't like the buy from Bungie. Bungie was a 3 whatever it was, ended up being like 3.6 billion or something like that. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But that's not the case when it comes to this. Do you think that Team LFG, do they have a shot?
The first thing that came to my mind, Mooch, with regards to that, by the way, thanks for inviting me on, bro.
Thanks for being here, Willie. Appreciate it.
It's great to be here, especially hashing it out with J-Dub, man. Yeah, you know I rate you, bro.
And now we got the great Porter Rock as well. Shout out to Porter Rock. Thank you, Wooly and Porter Rock, for joining us.
Don't worry, guys. No spoilers this week.
No spoilers. Yes.
I've got my whiskey though. I'm having a whiskey in sweet memory of Jade Raymond. I still love you, Queen. You know, you're still the queen of all failures, but you're still a queen, and your talent is unmistakable, even if you have been probably the most unfortunate victim of misfortune in the gaming industry for 20 years, but I still love you. Anyway, we're moving on. And now that that's out the way, Team LFG, bro, flipping heck. It made me think of Media Molecule. All I'll say is, I am all for them taking a portion out of Bungie, because let's face it, what are they good for at the moment? I'm sorry, they've just been caught out red-handed, plagiarizing someone's artwork.
Yes, I saw that.
In the game.
Yeah.
Plastered all over their game. And it's a core element of their art design. It's not even a small thing. It's not like an emblem here and there. It's actually like a core part of their lore. And this guy just like exposed them, and it's crazy. It's like they can't even manage their own hirings to be legit. And they're there calling all the shots on, like, I know Naughty Dog pulled the plug on Factions 2 because they didn't have the brains to think, well, how about we just scale this down to a Factions 2 instead of a Factions Online? How about we make it iterative, an iterative evolution of the first Factions, like we all asked for? That's all we want.
That's right.
We're not wanting some big MMO, live service, persistent online next flipping big thing. We just won a next gen, the last of Us Factions 1, like, or an Uncharted 4 multiplayer kind of, in that kind of league of multiplayer. You know how they used to make games, Mooch? They used to make phenomenal single player games with a co-op mode, and that was like amazing.
That's right.
And there would be a competent multiplayer component. And for some reason, I don't understand how this eludes them. They seem to think that wouldn't work anymore.
I don't know why they don't think that recipe works anymore. I understand that it may not make as much money, but realistically, you could attach something like a Factions 2 to a Last of Us 2, right? And you could have had that ongoing and continue and put all sorts of different skins and packages together that people can continue to pay for. And there's still people playing Factions 1. I was
playing it all week last week.
Let me tell you the difference. The difference is when you have just a multiplayer game or a tacked on thing, you just make it, you ship it, and it's done. There's no more financial investment from that game or that you're going to sync, or from the company that you're going to sync back in. With the live service stuff, there's recurring money, right? It needs to pay for itself. The money that it makes from the microtransactions, from this and from all of that, goes back into keeping developers that sit there all day, and that's all they do is keep. It's kind of like Warzone, right? Warzone is a platform. It just keeps going. You have a big team, and that's what they do 24 hours a day.
That's right.
It's not like they go and do other things and that's it, and they wipe their hands. No, it's like its own company, its own IP, and that takes tons of investment, and forever, for the life of it. That's just money from this major company is going to be going and funneled into this little project forever. It's nonstop, right? And that's a huge undertaking. That's a huge task. So that's why Naughty Dog said, "Hey, we were going to have to fundamentally change from being just a one game studio or a multiple game studio to just a live service studio. Everything is just going. This was going to be the last game that you ever got forever from us." And we thought that we wouldn't want that. We want to continue to make other new games and new projects and stuff like that. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm glad they did, because I can't wait for Intergalactic. I can't wait for the next Uncharted and The Last of Us 3 or whatever it is they're working on. Because guess what? We could be sitting here talking about Factions 2. How Factions was just Factions 2 was just a bust, and how we're no longer getting any Naughty Dog games anymore because nobody's playing it anymore.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Actors do that too, Jay. It's an artist thing, and I'm not an artist, so I don't pretend to be one. But the thing about it is they'll say, remember, you have somebody who's really great at comedy and they make movies. All of a sudden, they do a serious role and the movie bombs. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I understand that you don't want to get stereotyped, right? But I like what you just said, especially with Naughty Dog, right? So you have the Uncharted series. I was actually talking before the show with a few people in the chat, and they're like, do you think we're going to actually, I think it was Rob Jones, he says to me, when are we going to see another Uncharted? I said, I don't know if we are, to be honest with you. But why can't you do an Intergalactic, then go back do an Uncharted, then do a Last of Us 3, then go do another new IP? And then if the new IP hits, great. But if the new IP ends up being fair to mediocre even, and then you have your others to rest back on, that's fine. It's a lot of times when these teams, they go, we have to do something different. We want to do something different. And I encourage that, but it seems like more likely the last few times that really hasn't worked. Like, listen, even using Bethesda, right? Softworks, right? They went ahead and they did Starfield. And don't get me wrong, say whatever you want about Starfield. If you enjoyed it, great. That's not what we're here to talk about. But the minute that didn't do well, what are they saying? We're on Fallout 5. You know, we'll get back to what you love. And it's like, that's what your claim to fame is. That's what you've built your entire people knowing you, what your whole essence is. And I sometimes I question that. I say, if that's what got you your claim to fame, enjoy that. You know, you don't always have to separate yourself from what people love and what people grew to love you with. Porter Rock, if you don't mind, I'm going to go to you here, P Rock, because, and don't allow me to use, okay, he's got this already copyrighted, Porter Rock, but people online were already saying grand opening, grand closing. So, P Rock, what do you think about the whole news that late breaking with Haven and Jade Raymond and what's going to happen to Fair Games? We might have lost P Rock already. That's not good.
Phil Spencer got him, bro.
Yeah.
Being the oracle in the gaming space must be so exhausting, like, for real.
Now I know why
he foretells the future before even the past has arrived. He's
well, P-Rock, are you here, buddy, or are you muted? He's here. We just don't know if he's here. That's the question, folks. There he is.
Way heading. All right. We good. We good. Okay.
There you are, P-Rock.
Yeah, PC at it again. Mike, good? Right. Everything good?
Yeah, P-Rock, you sound fantastic, buddy. How you doing?
Doing good, brother. All right. I just catching up to this news. And, you know, I'm just going to be like this. At this point, I don't know how any PlayStation fan is still on board with this fucking, excuse my language. I'll be honest. I'm sick and tired of this live service shit. Yeah. I'm fucking sick of it. We got one good thing out of this whole shit, which is Helldivers.
Yeah.
Everything else is fucking been abysmal.
Yeah.
And I don't understand what, like, I get it. I get the theory of live service. I get it. It makes money, blah, blah, blah. Theory. But let's look at fucking reality. The strategy sucks.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks. It's not working.
No.
It just sucks. We got Helldivers. Everything else has been abysmal.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Marathon looks mediocre to a lot of people's eyes. Even some of the Bungie fans are wondering, like, what the fuck is happening? Concord was the biggest disaster in PlayStation first-party history. Now Jade Raymond leaving, which only tells me Fair Game sucks ass. Yep. So you might as well just chalk that up. What are we as gamers? Not content creators, not guys who got their bachelors in business. Just simply as a fan of PlayStation, what are we getting out of all this shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
We got more losses as gamers than wins. In fact, there was a reason why The Last of Us 1 didn't come with the multiplayer. Why? What was the excuse? Because of Factions 2.
Factions 2, yeah. That's right.
Did you get Factions 2?
No.
It's a joke at this point, bro. It's a joke. I've just uploaded a 6-minute rant about it.
You know what I'm saying? So you didn't get The Last of Us Factions 1, you know, with the remaster, even though it cost $70.
Yeah.
You didn't get it because the argument was you're going to get Factions 2. Well, you didn't get that either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is. All we got is Helldivers 2. Wrap this shit up.
That's it.
Box this stupid plan. Box it up. We were fine. Well, listen, PlayStation 4, before the PS5, PlayStation 4 was the most profitable, and we were fine. Nobody was begging for live service.
That's right.
Right now, live service has been an abysmal failure. Think about it this way. Live service has been an abysmal failure for this generation PS5. Yet PS5 is still the most successful. So sure as hell isn't because of first-party live service games. PlayStation will be fine without this live service shit. In fact, not only will be fine, PlayStation will be better without this live service strategy. They will absolutely be better. We won't be going through this bullshit. All the bullshit that PlayStation been going through is primarily because of this strategy. This strategy has not benefited the brand.
No,
it's,
it hasn't.
If anything, this is the dark, bullshit of the brand. It's live service related. It isn't the hardware, because the hardware's fine. Even the Pro is fine. As much as people want to try to grift, reality, it's a great product.
It is.
Right? Portal's amazing. Even the VR2 is niche, but it's great. It's just niche. A lot of people aren't niche as VR. Everything is fine. The only thing wrong with PlayStation is the live service.
Yeah.
That's the gangrene of a body part. Chop the foot off.
And the thing is, P-Rock, the thing I agree with you, and I'll add to it a bit, is I don't even care. I mean, listen, us gamers, we don't get any money off Sony's dividends, right? So I don't really care if they lost a couple bucks on this. I don't care. The thing that bothers me is the resources, right? So we lost a lot of resources and time with these studios with this live service, right? We found that out with, I don't know if it was it Blue Point? I don't know who was was it Sony Santa Monica? One of the team, they were working on these different things and they canceled them because there's a new administration in town, P-Rock. They're not going to do it. Jim and his folks are gone. This new administration's not doing it. They're going back to the old school. So when they see something's not going to stick, it's gone. So yeah, now we're still seeing some of that where you're going, this is bullshit. They got to get rid of it. Internally, if they were listening to the show, they're like, P-Rock, don't worry. It is gone. I just got here. I'm the new CEO. It's gone. So the live service strategy, I think you're going to see literally disappear. And forget just Sony or Microsoft for a second. Let's talk about the other third-party companies. Outside of the Fortnites, the Warzones, the Apex Legends, right? Tarkov and a couple of others, maybe Rainbow Six Siege. Everything else that's really come out really hasn't done much. I say this all the time, and I know I always get something in the comments that goes, no, Mooch, it's great. The finals didn't light anything up. So it's like, that's
what we say.
That's what so my point being, it's just, I think the whole idea is right now, the whole free-to-play market it is what it is, and now these teams need to realize that either if you want to have a multiplayer, you got to attach it to something, and if it catches fire, you add skins or you add profiles or you add this and that after the fact when you already have a winning product, but you attach it to a single-player game that makes you money up front, and that's getting back to your roots. Now, will they go back to that? I don't know. Probably not, but they should.
I was saying, I've just uploaded on Twitter a 6-minute video rant, right? I've gone full Britney Spears, bro. Shaved my hair off and everything. Right? I'm heartbroken, bro. No, I'm on a serious note, right? I genuinely feel that Sony have flipping it, bro. Like it's late. It's the whiskey. I've forgotten my train of thought, haven't I? Not again. Bro, leave it with me. J-Dog,
it's okay. I got you, man. Listen, it's one of those things, and I've been, me and Porter Rock been going back and forth over this. I've recently I've been on team get good. You're never going to be the king of something if you don't get good, and you can't run at the first sign of a game not being good or flopping or whatever, and something else. Like, you've mastered the single player story driven game. You've mastered that. You've mastered the hardware. You've mastered, all the other avenues. Get good. Like, why the fuck can't they make a good live service game? Is that their kryptonite?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They've only ever tried what Concord and Helldivers 2. So after the first game, I think it was a success, and then after Concord, it was an abysmal failure, and then that's when everybody's like, nope, no more. We don't want any. We don't want to take any L's. We don't want any more flops or anything like that. And it's like, I agree. I don't want them to have any flops, but like, just looking at a company, like, I can't look at them as being. They can't say they're the number one company in gaming, but they failed at something that everybody is playing. The top 20 games are live service games, and Sony just has to sit back and say, "Yeah, we can't be in the midst of that because we can't do it. We can't do it."
We absolutely can, because nobody's buying a console Like I didn't give Sony $500 or $700 for them to. Oh, you got to do something. Try. No, I want you to give me good products.
Yeah.
I don't give a damn
and
about the
Yeah.
potential
What
theory. Listen, we never had these conversations. What I don't understand is none of these conversations, none of the points you guys are making was brought up during the PS4.
We didn't have live
no,
service
So why
games back then
now?
because
Like if Sony
we
what,
never
didn't have
what,
live
listen,
service
I
games back then.
guarantee if Sony never started a live service strategy, none of us will be having this convo. We would
they're
just
chasing
be
the,
going
they
right
are,
along, no different than the PS4.
Well, you know what?
We
So
would
wait,
just be
so listen,
no
so
bouncing
different.
off,
Willie,
bouncing off Agro's point, right, on Twitter. He worded it perfectly. They've been chasing a golden goose, and that's exactly what
Yeah, absolutely.
the live
Absolutely.
service model is. It's a golden goose. It's lightning in a
Golden
bottle.
Goose.
Fortnite, not every game, not even Helldivers 2, even compares in the same stratosphere to Fortnite.
Yeah.
And it's barely made the same amount of revenue as God of War Ragnarok, right? So if you've got, like, it's such a monumental task, because what makes anyone in their right mind think that they can sway the established demographic, because you're not magically going to create more gamers with a live service game. Not going to, they're not going to appear from mobile games onto your PlayStation and subscribe to this live service model. You have to sway them from Fortnite, from Call of Duty, from other live service titles, right? And
But
they are
people
already
do that.
established.
But
So
companies do
what makes
that
you think
every
this is
day.
gonna?
But Willie, they
No, but
release
not at the
these
scale,
live
not at the
service
scale
games.
of COD and
Okay,
Fortnite,
okay.
though.
No, okay. No, exactly. So we know, right? COD, Fortnite, Apex Legends at this point. We know those are the untouchables. But the games under that, the Rainbow Six Siege, the Overwatches, and now, right? Overwatch was there, and now that Marvel Rivals came and dethroned that, right?
mhm.
And these companies, and it's not just Sony, it's these companies, like you said, they're trying to chase the golden goose. And for whatever reason, they want that. They
Yeah, but
want in
Jay,
on it. They want
Jay,
in
Even
on
this,
that
even
recurring money. I don't know. Their business,
bro,
they just want it.
this is the point,
And I don't
J-Dub.
I
But
don't think us
even with
are gonna
Helldivers
stop them
2,
from trying to do that. Uh-huh.
this is my point, though, bro. That Helldivers 2 was a cultural phenomenon, right? And yet, it still wouldn't justify the failure of 3 or 4 projects. Never mind 10. It wouldn't monetarily cover that.
But it's not supposed
Because
to. It's supposed to
it's
be
not of the scale.
it's
It's not of the scale of Fortnite, right? And so I know
yeah.
it's not supposed to. It's not supposed to be that. But the
Yeah.
point is, they were willing to burn 10 projects in an attempt to divide the established games as a service demographic of gamers,
Mhm.
and sway them over to these new titles that they were making in the hope that 1 or 2 land. How does that
Mhm.
justify the cost of 7 or 8 failed projects? It doesn't, because
Well, because
even a
the
well,
cost of
no,
the
moderately
live
successful,
service
it does
the
though,
cost of the
Willie.
live service is a hell of a lot cheaper than one Spider-Man or one God of War or whenever
do
one
us a favor, bro.
Willie,
Sony first
Willie,
party.
Tell that to Naughty Dog. Tell that to Naughty Dog, because they seem to think that you need an entire studio to run a live service game. So tell that
Well,
to Naughty
yes,
Dog, please. Because
yes. Well,
oh,
but here's the thing, Willie. Here's the thing. Naughty Dog was doing it on a different scale, right? They were doing it on a different scale. Look at the Helldivers team. That wasn't those guys like 30 people, right? It was a smaller scale. Yes, it was successful, but clearly it's not supposed to be the Fortnite, right? Fortnite is a service. Those are service games, right? Those are big blockbuster. That means you once you play Fortnite, you don't leave there. That's your every. It's kind of like Roblox. My kids, they jump into Roblox. They can play football,
yeah,
basketball,
yeah,
racing. They can play
everything.
ninja game. They can play any genre that they never have to buy another game because any genre of any game that they would ever want to play is in there, right? Racing, just any genre is in there. That's a platform. These are huge platform games. Fortnite's the same thing. You can race. You can do all kind of stuff. You can play basketball, soccer. They have concerts. I mean, it's a platform. The same thing with Roblox.
They're all
and the
listen.
rest of those
They're
things,
all
right?
trying for it, right? This is what I wanted to say to P Rock, and I wanted to say to Wooly. Jay, I'm with you because they're all trying it. Foam Stars, right? Square Enix tried to get into
Yeah.
it. The thing about it, Wooly,
Yeah.
is this, and the way, and don't get me wrong. As far as what we discuss week in and week out on podcasts and in community, I hear you, Wooly. But hear me out for a second. 3%. So when you flyer or you advertise, you get like 3% back. So for every 100 flyers you hit for a pizzeria, you're lucky if you get 3 customers to call you back. Right? So that's a lot of money out of pocket. But once you get those 3 people, and now they order every Tuesday, every Friday, every Sunday football game, right? That's a lot of money out of pocket. So what their thought process was, and I'm not saying this is one for one, was they were going to try as many live service as possible. And if they got 3 to hit, hear me out, 3 to hit, those 3 would have people coming back indefinitely. Now, it backfired because they only got 1 so far. They got Helldivers too. But if 3 hit out of those, 10, which is not even the statistics for actually advertising, but nonetheless, maybe they had a different stat in front of them. That would have absolutely covered the costs for the other blunders that may have happened. That's just the cost of business. The problem was what's backfiring on them, in my opinion, is that they only got 1 so far. And now I think they're pulling the plug on all of them.
And that's why I'm saying that's all the theoretical thought. This conversation about what's fine in 2020, 2021. We're in 2025.
Right.
It's over. They failed. And you know what? It's okay to not be the best in everything. It's perfectly fine. At the end of the day, it's a consumer product, right? This strategy has created more L's. The live service strategy is literally the weakest link of PlayStation right now.
Yes.
It's literally the one that caused the most problems. It caused the most issues. It wasted the most money. It's taken away the most resources. It's just what it is. And if you look at every project every developer that was doing a live service, that was the only thing they were going to do. Every studio was designed for that, and that was all they're going to do. Like, for example, the Helldiver studio, sure, it's a small studio, but that's all they're going to do. They're not going to keep making single-player games.
Right.
That's it. They're perpetually stuck with Helldivers 2 until maybe one day they decide to do Helldivers 3. But that studio's locked in. They're done. You're not going to get new creative ideas.
They're making a new game.
They're making a new game.
Are they?
Yeah, it's not with no support from Sony. They're 100% funded.
Sony's not funding it, but they've already started on their new game.
So this strategy, listen, I don't care about theoreticals. I didn't buy a PS5 for a theoretical.
Right.
I don't give a shit. Listen, if we can't say Sony's number 1, I don't give a fuck. Fuck.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know Sony's number 1 because of what we actually play, not because of theoretical conversations. It's the actual games we get to play. It's the actual game of the years that we get to play. It's the actual games of the accolades.
Yeah.
That is what makes Sony great, not theoreticals.
Yeah.
Right? Not theoreticals. Yeah. It's content. Real content that they deliver with quality. Right now, what's the biggest games that we're expecting from Sony's first party or for Sony's first party strategy to get games on the shelf?
Second party titles, bro. They're the best games right now. It's got nothing. Their first party are trash right now.
Yeah. Well, Ghost of Yotai. That's hyped.
Yeah.
Ghost of Yotai is hyped. And it got more hype than Marathon. You see what I'm saying? It got more hype than Marathon. And here's the even thing. Even Sony's live service strategy with second party, third party, even that sucks. Because the games that they align with themselves, like Foam Stars and Destruction All-Star Derby and all the other shit, they flop too. So even when they try to align with third party, right, and try to get an exclusive title or time exclusive title, most of them sucked, right? But yet with the first party, single player stories, they magically know what to pick. You see what I'm saying? It's okay to say PlayStation as a company sucks ass when it comes to these big multiplayers. That's fine. I'm okay with it. What we got to do is actually admit it. Because if we don't, then we're no different than the X. Listen, if we don't admit, like, yo, you suck, move on from this, you're just killing your own brand for no reason, then we're no different than the Xbox fanboys. Because that's exactly what they did with their own brand. They refuse to admit the obvious bullshit Microsoft decision was making. It's the same shit. The strategy is stupid. Let them know, Sony, you're done. Don't worry about it. Most of us are not going to play this bullshit. Leave it alone. You try. Move on from it.
Here's the thing, Puerto Rock. This is unfortunate, right? This is the unfortunate thing. I agree with 1,000% with everything you're saying. But Sony, they're going to keep pushing for the shit.
You think
They're
so,
gonna keep
Jay?
doing
You
it.
think they're going to keep going?
I think they're going to keep doing it. I just think they're going to keep doing it.
I don't know
They're
if
like,
this
listen,
new I don't
they're
know if
like,
this new
listen, I'm
administration.
going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why, Mooch. These motherfuckers just reported they've made more money than their next two competitors combined. They're making more money than they ever have in history. It didn't listen. Them losing $400 million on fucking Concord did not shift them. Clearly, it hasn't shifted their way of their way of thinking. And I
Hmm.
don't listen.
No, no, no,
I don't know why. Like I don't know
no, no, no,
why.
no, 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 no. So,
I don't know
so
why.
they reported, record profits, but they did notice Concord messed that up. So just
Absolutely,
because I made
absolutely.
money doesn't mean I get to ignore. Like for example,
So
if
yeah,
I could have made 1.5 billion, but because you did
yeah.
something 500 million gone, I made $1 billion. Sure, I'm happy I made $1 billion, but don't you think I'm gonna forget about that 500 million?
Oh, absolutely.
Nah, son,
I hear
we
you.
gotta
So
talk
I
about that
expect,
500 million.
but
We're
I
not gonna
expect.
just erase it because I made $1 billion. Nah, that 500 million, because I would have 1.5 billion if it
Well,
wasn't for
that's
you. So we're
well
gonna have
that.
a conversation on not maximizing my profits, because again, they make profit, but they want to maximize, and they're gonna look at the stuff that's inhibiting maximum, operating income. And Concord fucked them up. They're not gonna
So
let that go. They're not gonna be like,
so
that's okay. No, 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 no,
so
no,
I
no, no.
expect.
That
With that
sucker
being
made us
said,
lose a lot of money.
but with that being said, I expect them to no longer try to make any more or release any more live service games going forward.
Are you asking that,
What
Jay?
happened?
Yeah, no, I'm asking
What's the
that.
question?
Do
Well,
you
don't
guys?
I'm
Yeah,
saying they need
do
to.
you guys
They
Yeah, but
need
expect
to.
them?
They need to.
No,
They need to dramatically reduce this strategy. Like,
Yeah, but
don't even
P-Rock,
invest in something.
P-Rock,
Maybe like once every 10 years.
P-Rock, you got Marathon.
Definitely.
You got Marathon coming out in September. There's rumored to
Mhm.
be that other game that's coming out, whether it's going to be from Team LFG or not, that Gummy Bears project.
yeah.
Okay. So they have at least another two in the oven. Now, whether or not you like them
Mhm.
and they're going to work or not, that the jury's still out. But like,
Whoa!
they're
Well,
not
let-
necessarily
so I'll
out
say
yet.
this.
They're making a
Anything-
multiplayer
listen,
game.
listen.
They're making a multiplayer game based off of gummy bears.
No, that's like the
Why,
code.
no,
why
that's-
is your
Oh,
That's
I was about to
the-
say, I walked in on the wrong end of that
Let me
freaking
give you-
conversation.
Yeah, here's what it is. With Bungie, there's nothing we can do about it. They literally bought a studio that is designed for live service play. So that's already in the books.
Mhm.
There's nothing you can do about that. They're already wrapped in, they're locked in. That's what Bungie does. There's nothing we can do. That purchase was already done in 2021. There's
Mhm.
nothing we can do about it. Fine. That's your live service multiplayer studio. They're literally built for that. All right. I think they did the spinoff primarily. I think the reason why they did that spinoff, because that's their way of having a title that was made by Bungie, yet they don't have to put it on Xbox. Because technically speaking, any game made by Bungie
Yeah.
is a multiplayer title. That's the only reason why I think this LFG was created. An idea that was created by Bungie is not going to be made by Bungie. And because it's not made by Bungie, it's made by this new studio, quote unquote,
Right.
you're not seeing this game on Xbox. But then again, it might flop, so does it really matter? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
All the other stuff is already set in place. MLB The Show, I know that transitioned into a live service game, but the legacy of that game was always, multiplayer. Gran
Yo,
Turismo
I just
7,
wanna-
you're fine with that.
I just want
All this
to
new shit?
bounce off Ryan's
Stop.
point. Ryan super chat Mooch. He mentioned
Yes.
how. Do you want to read it?
Yeah,
And
I'll go. And guys, everyone did. There's a lot of super chats I'm going to get to. You're not forgotten at all. But Ryan's here. Sadly, he says you guys are wrong. The CFO said yesterday their focus is on increasing MAU, monthly active users. How do you increase MAU? He goes question mark with more live service, not single player.
I just want to bounce off that point. Live
incorrect.
service games only retain MAUs. They don't create them.
Yeah.
Great single player games sell consoles. Live service games don't. Death Stranding 2 is the reason why I bought a PS5 Pro. Although I'm already an established MAU, I'm not the only one who's bought a PS5 Pro or a PS5 just for Death Stranding 2. You create more MAUs with exclusive games that are appealing, not with live service games designed to keep you in the game. So I just wanted to just address that.
I do agree with Wooly on that one.
I'll answer that question with this. Did Concord increase MAUs?
No.
Okay, there
Stop
we go.
saying
Enough
Concord,
said.
bro.
Enough said.
Stop mentioning Concord. I swear down. You keep mentioning Concord.
Listen,
I'm going to
listen. It
drown
was the biggest
myself. I'm
flop.
going to drown
We're gonna
myself
keep
in
using
whiskey.
it, right? But the biggest part, you want to increase MEUs, you want people to keep playing your console, deliver what they want. They want Sony's first party games, single player story games. How about that? Like literally, that's the reason why PS4 was so massively successful.
Yeah.
And I
Everybody
agree
was
with
like,
that.
look at these amazing single player games.
And I agree with that. As from an
Gee, I
investment
don't know.
standpoint,
Maybe
from an
go back to
investment
that.
standpoint, I can only fault Sony for investing for being short-sighted when it came to their user base. When they invested all of that money in all of those live service games, I was thinking to myself, even as a gamer, the reason I play PlayStation is because of their single player games. What is this avenue? Now, I can understand you want to branch out and you want to experiment and you want to look at the next big thing. 1, 2, 3 is one thing. 11, on the other hand, doesn't make any fucking sense to me. When you are not known for that thing, that's like, okay, that's like McDonald's going all hell in on fucking fried shrimp. What the fuck? They're McDonald's. You're not there for fried shrimp. There you go.
No,
the plan was beyond abysmal when we found out they actually tasked Bluepoint to do a God of War live service game. What the fuck are you thinking?
I know.
What is that?
That's what I said.
Why would you task Bluepoint to do a live service game?
That's what I said before you got here, P-Rock. I said it's not even the money, because honestly, you say this all the time, P-Rock. That's their money. The hell with it, right? But you wasted the resources and time. That's the problem I really got, because those are teams that could have been making other games.
That drop
was insane.
The drop that you saw in the stock value when they announced them shuttering all those plans, all those live service plans, was not because of the investment, because the amount of money that they invested was proverbially for them and for the investors a drop in the bucket. It was the time that was lost along with that investment that caused them that stock price to crash at that time. Because you can't get that time back. The money comes back. It's the time and the resources that were expended during that time that is not coming back.
So
wait, so forever lost.
So P-Rock, Eric, the producer in the chat, he's saying because Bluepoint pitched it. Now that was a question, Eric. Thank you for bringing that up. We kept hearing that these teams wanted to make that, right? We kept hearing that one gentleman. I can't remember his name now. I believe he works for Sony Santa Monica. Was that the other team? And he was like, let's say we're cooking. Let us cook. And it was like, what are you cooking?
Let's say that's true, right? Then we need Yoshida's retired. We need a new Yoshida, because Yoshida, remember when the God of War developers came back and showed God of War? He said, "Get the fuck out of here." Right. Sometimes you need to tell these developers, listen. If I was there and they'd be like, "Come with this God of War live service game," I'd be like, "You're not doing that. You know what you're gonna do? You're gonna fucking make Bloodborne remake. Why? Because the fucking gamers are fucking yelling for this shit. So that's what you're gonna fucking make."
Okay. Here's another thing, but here's another thing I don't understand. Somebody
has to read the temperature of the room.
Yeah.
No, but
no
one
asking for God of War live service, but how many of us are begging for a Bloodborne remake? Like literally printing money. It's like literally there. It's easy.
No offense, bro. I hear you, but how many people bought the first game?
Then on top of that, you
7 million.
greenlight and you go through to production for a game like Concord, whereas Factions 2 and the Spider-Man Online, which has a known population of players, you shutter those. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
I'm not going to lie.
To tap on Wooly, because I'm glad you put that. Bloodborne, 7 million.
Yeah, okay,
How many copies of God of War
I hear you, but
listen. How many copies? No, hold up. How many copies of the God of War that had the multiplayer, God of War Ascension, and it had multiplayer? How many copies did that sell? 1.5 million.
Yeah,
1.5.
Not
that
great.
was after
7
God of War 3
million
that sold
is very
5 million.
impressive, right? 7 million is very impressive. But my point is, I agree though that allowing and funding the remastering and then re-releasing of the remaster a year later of The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2, and yet forsaking a remaster of Bloodborne is a travesty. Right, it's an absolute travesty, and it just shows how out of touch. Like they're so occupied with pushing the show, The Last of Us show, which, let's face it, season 2 isn't great. Nobody really cares about it. I haven't even begun watching it. I just can't be bothered with it. But nevertheless, like the fact that they're just pushing what these completely unnecessary releases for seemingly a quick buck, and forsaking what people are asking for so long. It does show there is a bit of an alienation between the consumer and the PlayStation, the platform holder, that wasn't there in the PS4 era. Like, it feels like they just, and again, I said this in my video, Mooch, that in my upload, my 6-minute rant, that it's the second party studios that are killing it. It's the Stellar Blades, the Death Strandings, the Helldivers too. It's the second party titles that we're excited for now. Nobody's excited or anticipating Sony Santa Monica's next game, Naughty Dog's next game, Intergalactic. Yeah, we've seen a trailer of it. Yeah, it looks pretty, but go figure. That's Naughty Dog's staple is the best visuals. But it's like, bro, like we've been so kind of disappointed and a little disillusioned with their recent first party output. The only reliable studio is Polyphony, and the only one that we have the most hope
and
in.
Insomniac. You can't say about Insomniac.
I would argue, not Insomniac.
They really did.
Bro. Apart from that, nah. Insomniac made the most money for Sony this gen by utilizing a well-known established character that everybody's going to buy the game anyway, whether it's good or bad. But Spider-Man 2 was trash compared to Spider-Man 2018. It was an absolute in the writing department. It was the biggest letdown ever. It felt soulless, and all of nuance and all of depth that was in the first game was gone. It was manufactured in a Disney lab, like flipping Mary Jane driving on a motorbike into the heart of danger right after she was saved. Miles making a suit whilst the world is ending. Like all of these writing choices were just so shockingly bad and out of touch and unrealistic. They all spoke like they had been sterilized to each other. There wasn't any naturalness there. The first game was a masterpiece. It was a Lovecraft. It was a passion project made by two writers butting heads together and creating this incredible story. Spider-Man 2 was a soulless sequel, and I'll stand by that. And the world was gamified. Fine. The world wasn't immersive. It was all gamified. Like it was just.
I'm not going to argue your personal opinion. That's perfectly fine. Like, if you don't like the game, that's fine. You don't like the game. But there is no arguing that this gen, Insomniac released Miles Morales on the PS5, Ratchet & Clank on the PS5, and Spider-Man 2 on the PS5, and they're about to release Wolverine. Right. No, listen. That's 4 games I get to play. Just because you didn't like Spider-Man 2 doesn't negate the fact at a minimum, Insomniac giving me 4 new games.
Yeah,
I have yet to get one new game from Naughty Dog. I got look at the quantity. Santa Monica gave me 1 game this gen. Right?
That's right.
Freaking Gorilla, 1 game this gen. Bluepoint, 1 game this gen, and because they shut down the whole God of War Live service. Right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
They're not releasing games.
The problem is this.
What I'm trying to say is Insomniac did carry PlayStation on their back. We can argue whether you like the game or not, sure. But as far as them releasing their output and actually releasing games to their gamers, there is no argument. But they did it the best.
But you see, Sony fundamentally is a Japanese company like Nintendo, and Sony looks at Nintendo's sales through on their first-party IPs, and they want to mimic that. The thing that Nintendo does well, you could say good things or bad things about Nintendo. You could say shit on their consoles. You could say whatever the fuck you want to say about their hardware. However, their games sell. But they know that, okay, they got these big tentpoles. You got your 3D Mario, your 3D Zelda, your Splatoon, whatever. But then in between those, they give these small, protracted experiences. They're not supposed to sell 20 million, 30 million like a Zelda. It's supposed to sell 1, 2, like Princess Peach Showtime or the Kirby games that they release every so often. They still generate income. And I think this is what Sony's problem is. These games have become so big and not bloated, but big, that they take a long time to develop for. So now they're like saying, okay, well, between these big tentpole franchises, what do we do? So their thought was, live service, but that shot themselves in the foot. What I think they need to do is make more single player, more focused, protracted experiences that are not.
So here's the thing.
50 hours.
So Wise, I agree with you, and I'll tell you right now, guys. That's what I was saying. P-Rock, it was before you got in here and before Wise got in here. I'm saying this new administration that's in there, this new CEO that's in the spot now, there's certain things that he's going to look at, like he did with this. And honestly, shout out to just real quick super chat here. Digital Dude, he says, is it true that they dropped the money sign in fair games? Listen, the thing is I think that this guy that's in charge now, he's going to cancel these things if they don't work, and he's going to go back to more of the route that P-Rock, you're asking for, and what Wise says he thinks will be the monetary payout for Sony to get back to their roots. That's what they're going to do. The difference is right now is what are they going to do with games like Fair Games? What are they going to do with Marathon? What are they going to do with this, whatever Gummy Bears is supposed to be? That's their project name. Like, what are they going to do with those? Do they just cancel them, or do they let like an audience play it and see what the response is and then cancel it? Like they kind of, I think Fair Games is done. I don't think Fair Games comes out, to be honest with you. So we don't have to have any fake outrage in a couple of weeks when this thing gets canceled. I don't see that thing actually coming out. I got a couple of really good questions here in the super chat here. Shout out real quick to Anonymous Boss. He says Helldivers 2 got so much hate, then Phil Spencer even wanted it to go on Xbox. Make it make sense. Shout out to Anonymous Boss. T-Rock 40 says Wooly Spoiler is in the house. Cover your ears, everybody. No, he's not tonight. I promise you, T-Rock. But then Moonshot, he says the problem with live service, shout out to Moonshot, the problem with live service is that corporations want the live service money more than the gamers want all these live service games. Well, that's the truth, right? We already kind of went over that. Shout out to Moonshot. It's evident, he says, because 90% of them are devoid of the passion. And I don't know, maybe that's a misspelling. That's why all of Helldivers 2 is so good and so successful. The passion is pouring out of the game. Ryan's we read, and then shout out to Easy E. He says Spider-Man 2 was trash. Sony's first party's like it. Now listen, again, I do agree with P-Rock's sentiment saying, well, he has every right to say that. I thought Spider-Man 2 was very good, but I
didn't get the.
Go ahead, Will.
I didn't get the chance to respond to that. Like, it's not about my subjective opinion of the game. We can all agree, however, that P-Rock only agreed with me at the end when he basically admitted that Insomniac are carrying the entire gen because Sony's first-party output has been very lackluster. And dare I argue, just to play devil's advocate, Insomniac have been very iterative on their releases, apart from Ratchet and Clank. Like, Miles Morales, there was very little difference in the gameplay mechanics and gameplay of Spider-Man 2018. It was just a very good story, and I really loved the game. I loved Miles Morales so much, right? Spider-Man 2, again, for the time in development, it was very iterative. And bear in mind, the story was way worse and way lackluster. Again, that's my subjective opinion. I just felt the writing was very soulless and subpar. But the point is that they've been iterative in their releases. They've not been ambitious in their releases.
So that's a totally different argument. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't have that point. I'm saying that's not you're trying to tie my point with your point. No, I'm not. This is okay. Let me make it simple.
Give me 4 games.
I want developers to create products and release it for the console I bought. Insomniac has been doing that.
Well, if that's all you care about a console, then enjoy it.
All the studios have been piss poor at that. Simple.
Okay.
I got 3 games.
I would rather wait.
Okay.
I would rather wait for an ambitious game than have 3 iterative games.
But again, that's for you because you're judging it on your perception. Listen, I enjoyed all 3 games.
That's your opinion. Your opinion is you would rather play 3 iterative games than wait for one ambitious game.
But here's the difference between Insomniac. You have opinions on Insomniac. I don't even have an opinion on Naughty Dog because they haven't released shit.
Well, that's your opinion on Naughty Dog, bro.
I can't have, I don't have a new opinion on Naughty Dog new game because it doesn't exist. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
This is a problem.
But I understand, but there's nuance there that
I'm trying to say is we're
thrown under the rug.
2 different things. Insomniac provided games. They provided content. Now, if you didn't like it, that's a whole different argument, which is fine. But Insomniac, they had a better pipeline. They were better designed to release games, and they release games for their audience. Naughty Dog hasn't done shit. Nothing. Nothing to critique. Nothing to complain.
I agree. Nothing. There we can agree. My point is, I would rather wait for an ambitious title that doesn't suck than I would rather wait 4 years for an actual for a game than wait 2 years for an iterative experience that
You're
barely
not getting
but-
you're not
barely
getting a
expands on
genuine
the first
experience. I'm
game.
telling you right now, the size of the Spider-Man IP, you're only going to get iterative at best because there is so much money at play. Too many corporations have too many chefs in the kitchen that beyond iterative, that's all it's going to be because that's just what they want to play. They want to play it safe. They know that they have a winning formula here, and the majority of people who
But
buy this
I think
will buy it.
I think that listen, when I listen to Wooly and I listen to P-Rock going back and forth, I honestly think you're almost like it's CrossFire, right? So the bullets are whizzing, but they're going by you both. The thing about it, you have to hear me
We're
here.
agreeing with each
Yeah,
other.
yeah,
We're just
so-
arguing
Yeah.
over
No, but-
Insomniac for some reason.
No, but the thing about it is that I think when it comes down to it, you can have the big project, Wooly, that you said you're willing to hold out for to get this big narrative, story-driven, amazing cinematic, game. Much like you're looking forward to like Death Stranding
Like
2.
Death
But
Stranding 2. Yeah, exactly.
Wise Old Gamer said earlier tonight. He said the one thing that Nintendo does is they make these great games and they don't always sell 10, 15, 20 million. Sometimes like the Kirby series, they'll sell 1 million, 2 million. The last Metroid, I remember on the Nintendo camp, people were waiting for it to hit 3 million. I don't even know if it sold 3 million yet. And if it did, by all means, kudos. That's awesome. But what I'm saying is you had Blue Point and like P-Rock, this is what P-Rock was saying. You had Blue Point and you had this team and that team working on live service games. Those guys could have made amazing new IP, or Blue Point using their specialty, bring some of the amazing games back and make sequels, right? Or make prequels, if you will, to existing IP and have those 5 million copies sold type of games and keep that generation, keep the generation feeling alive. What happens is they wasted the time.
I have a 175-pound Rottweiler, and that night when they were talking about like all these games that all these publishers that were shuttered or all these development projects that were shuttered, and they said Blue Point had a game and it was shuttered, it was online. I was so pissed off to find out Blue Point was making it a live service game. I went and wrestled that 175-pound dog. I started hitting him and playing rough with him and everything too. So I was so pissed off. I'm like, what? That makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Blue Point, you bought these bastards because they are good at porting over your shit. Then you got a game everyone wants you to port over, and you.
There's
like when stupidity runs rampant, I don't know what the fuck to do with it.
Check this out. We're gonna use Intergalactic in a Heretic Prophet, right? I had Zuby Tech on as a guest on Friday Night Live.
Shout out to Zuby.
And live on there, he said, Zuby. He said, we were talking about the game, and I'm thinking, I mentioned something about 2026, and he said, yeah, that might not happen. And I'm like, what? And he said it live on the air, so it wasn't a behind the scenes thing. He says, yeah, based on the conversations have, that might be a 2027 game. Intergalactic might be.
I would buy it. I would buy into that. I'd buy into that.
All right, now think about this. Let me put you in this situation. All right, imagine 2027 Intergalactic Heretic Prophet comes out, and it's the same year as the PlayStation 6. I want you to think about this, right?
Okay.
That's whole last.
Let's say it's a launch cross-gen title between the PS5 generation and PlayStation 6 generation.
Okay.
Let's pretend they align it that way, right? If you are able to get a PlayStation 6 day one, Mooch, right? Let's assume nothing is forcing us to stand a PS5.
Right.
Where would you prefer to play Intergalactic Heretic Prophet?
Personally, PS6.
Okay. Wooly, where would you personally prefer to play Intergalactic Heretic Prophet?
PS5. I'm happy to play it on my PS5 Pro. Sorry, mate, I'm not following because all I'm listening to is people not understanding the word that I'm saying. Yeah. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish, bro. A lot of people in the comments don't seem to understand what I'm saying. It seems to be a thing. I don't know if it's my whiskey or just people not listening properly, right? But I never said. Shout out to Donnell Brown, love you, brother. But I never said I don't want Sony to make smaller games. In fact, I have argued I want Sony to make smaller games. I am talking about iteration sequels. Iterative sequels are very different to small games. I'm happy with ambition in a smaller package. I'm happy with improving on all different mechanics and overhauling systems that needed work. Spider-Man 2 didn't do that at all. It was iterative.
Okay.
Death Stranding 2 is overhauling many mechanics. And Corey in the chat, Corey Massey, seems to think that Death Stranding's an iteration of the first game. No, it's clearly a massive, comprehensive overhaul in many ways. So I'm not. It's completely different kettle of fish here, brother. You know, that's all I wanted to say.
Now, back to my point. Intergalactic, same day release on the PlayStation 6. Where would you prefer to play it? On the PlayStation 6 where it's available?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd buy a PS6 for that.
Okay, and the Wizard, where would you prefer to play Intergalactic?
Of course, PlayStation 6.
All right, now, let's say if that was the case, do you realize you went a whole entire gen of PS5 without playing a Naughty Dog game if you decide to play this game on the PS6?
Yeah.
And then also don't forget
That's a
that
goddamn
if
problem.
it releases in that transition period,
let's think about it.
Then you're only getting one Naughty Dog game for 2 generations. Also.
Yeah, but think about that. Let's unpack that. We all admit that if this game was a day one PlayStation 6 title, crossing with PS5, and we were lucky enough to get it at launch, we will all opt to play this game on PlayStation 6.
Yes.
That means we played nothing for 7 years from Naughty Dog on the PS5.
Yeah.
That's a goddamn problem.
That is
if
a problem.
you skip an entire gen and not one new game from Naughty Dog.
Yep.
That's a goddamn problem.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about.
I agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
But the problem they're going to use is they say, "Oh, the game just took that long to develop." Well, if the game is taking that many years, we've got a serious problem.
Factions
it's because
2,
of that like service.
Factions 2 is the reason that getting canceled was that's what Porter Rock's kind of alluding to. Is the live services what caused that to happen? Now that would be a travesty, P Rock. I personally think that 2028 is more aligned with PS6. So I think that you'll still have that one, which I still think is abysmal. By the way, I don't think that's good. Saying that you played one Naughty Dog game all generation, I think that still sucks. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think your point still stands. Shout out to the great Danelle Brown, and I think this is what Willie was talking about. Danelle says live service is not leaving unless the step back. They are the ones that are pushing for it. P-Rock is still mad about yesterday, I see. Well, of course we're mad. The Knicks and the Mets lost. We're not happy. Well, he's probably happy about the Mets. Nonetheless, Anonymous Boss says we are probably getting...
Who is that?
It's Danelle, of course.
But he's a Clippers fan. Stop it.
But let me also add...
in LA. He roots for the Clippers.
I don't know.
He does. He's like only dude. Shout out to Donnell, man.
Shout out to Danelle Brown. Anonymous Boss, and then Wise. Let me let me read this one. I'll give it to you. He says we are probably getting Bloodborne remake for the PS6 for sure, 100%. Don't forget Star Wars KOTOR is still being kept under wraps.
Half-Life 3, both of them.
Bless your heart. Bless your heart, Donnell Brown. Bless your heart.
Well, this is Anonymous Boss. This wasn't. He says PS6 will be stacked with Wolverine, GTA 6. Final Fantasy Part 3 and many more. I hope we get some of those games you just mentioned this generation, Anonymous Boss. Go ahead, Wise.
Well, okay, to add insult to injury to all of this is this, right? Now that there's no competition from the other side of the pond and their games are all are coming day and date, Sony was even more or less incentivized to release their first party IPs on a regular cadence. They're like, well, why? Before it was more like, okay, yeah, we got to get this out there because we got to sell consoles because we got another competitor. Now, the competitors' games are all coming I don't know if day and date, but they're coming all onto their platform. They're like, okay, yeah, we can take as much time as we want. So I see the way Sony's working. It might even take they might even need to take longer because they don't see the threat. They don't see the point of. Well,
that's a fair argument, though. That is,
no,
you don't agree with that? You don't think so? All right. I mean, he's not saying P-Rock. Don't think of it as the old school. Don't think of it as the old school way we used to say that. This is a new situation now, so they may have a little bit more of a buffer.
I'm thinking of money. I'm not going to have a studio just sitting around for 8 years doing nothing. I don't care about competition. You're just not going to chill in Santa Monica Beach, and you're not going to do anything for 9 years. Like, that doesn't make sense. I'll just shut you down. Like, if I see Sony closing down more studios, then I'll be concerned. Because that's what you do. If I'm not going to use you, I'm going to shut you down. I'm not going to allow you to go 8 years and do nothing. You got to do something. You got to, like, these guys are getting paid. You know? They're getting paid every day. So they got to produce something for me.
Let's play devil's advocate here, okay? Let's take, for example, let's just say, let's talk about Sucker Punch, okay? They're about to release their game Yotai, right? Let's say now Sucker Punch takes 11 years, 10 years, 11 years, all right? If Sony comes around and threatens to close Sucker Punch, do you hear? I mean, I think the optics in and of itself would prevent them from doing it. Like if Sony ever announced that they're going to close Sucker Punch or they're going to massively undercut the employment staff, I think that the news alone is going to probably stop them from doing that.
Wow, you haven't played a Sucker Punch in 11 years. You would forget about them.
It's a
You'd be like, oh
pedigree.
shit.
It's a pedigree developer, though. It's a pedigree
No, but
developer.
think about it. Think about it. Imagine, all right, Yotai comes out in 2025.
Right.
Let's say if they take a game that takes them 11 years. That means that game is not going to come out till 2036. Brother man, if you gave birth to a baby, your wife or whoever gives birth to a baby today, that kid will be 11 years old. You will not remember Sucker Punch is around. You will completely forget about them. You will be like, oh shit, they still got Sucker Punch? Like 11 years? Nobody. There's going to be new gamers that never heard of Sucker Punch by that point. They're going to be like, who the fuck is this? That's, think about it. You have a studio that you're paying salaries every single year, every week, whatever the schedule is, and they just sit there do nothing for 11 years? Like, no. That's what I'm saying. I don't agree with the whole, they could take the time. In fact, Sony, in their recent thing, they actually addressing that. They think their studios don't really know how to manage time and money. So if anything, I think Sony's going to hunker down on that bullshit. They're like, yo, we ain't paying you for 8 years to produce one game.
And that's true. And P-Rock, only Naughty Dog gets that grace because of their merits. Trippy says here, he says, where's the showcase? Where are the PlayStation IPs they plan to reboot? Why are they okay with Xbox games as padding? So Trippy, we just kind of talked about that, and I do agree. I don't think they're necessarily using that as, I think that may buy them a little bit of time, but let's be honest. I know, we all get kind of caught up with the gaming media and the headlines and things like that. And yes, but if you look at the numbers, right, I don't have them in front of me. Crap usually has them in front of, but like 1.5 million sold for like Sea of Thieves, right? 1.5 or 2 million copies sold of Forza Horizon 5. Maybe it's a little bit more than that. Those are not outstanding numbers. I mean, you see everybody be like, "Oh, look at that! Xbox is dominating the PlayStation." I mean, it is what it is. Those aren't really making that big of numbers. Donnell Brown, he says, "I am sorry, Willie. You're coming off a little orange." Listen, Donnell, do not get upset with the great Willie Gamer, by the way. Babor Country's here. He said it's subjective. Okay, I'll sit down. No pitchfork. I think that was when, I don't know if that was Willie or that was Porter Rock. Shout out to Babor. Trippy says, Xbox games have increased in quality recently. Question, what happens when they are on par with PlayStation, but more of them? What the hell can PlayStation do? This is the danger for PlayStation. So, Trippy, I got to say right there that I don't agree with you at all. First of all, Starfield wasn't great. What?
Did they increase in quality?
Xbox? I don't think so. So, like, when you look at it, Redfall wasn't great. Starfield wasn't great. Even Shattered Spaces, the DLC, got a very poor reception, even from the Xbox brass. It said, the Xbox positives online, they weren't really into it. And then when you sit there, you go, come on, Mooch, what about Indiana Jones? And what about Doom? Okay, you want to say Indiana Jones and Doom. Like, that was literally them going and buying Bethesda. So if you want to say Bethesda is great, I'll say Bethesda is great, right? Yes, Microsoft gets the tip of the cap, but you can't sit there and say it's like some, like if it was, the Coalition, or if it was Turn 10. Like Turn 10 had a really good update that just came out with Forza Motorsport. But Forza Motorsport, when it came out a year or two ago, really, really poor. One of the worst Forzas to come out. So Trippy, you got to calm down. You're buying into a little bit of the headlines out there right now.
Let me put it this way. This is why. Let me put it this way. I'll use PlayStation because maybe I don't want the Xbox fanboys be pissed off I criticize Xbox. So I'm gonna use PlayStation as example, and I'm gonna use this. Let's say Marathon is a massive hit,
right?
Just like Destiny, maybe even bigger. Let's say for whatever reason,
probably not. But go ahead, use the example.
Let's use Marathon. Let's say the actual full game with all the full features.
Right.
I think Wooly touched on a lot of the stuff that the game ultimately will have. But let's say it's the full release and it has a lot more stuff that the preview, the alpha build didn't have, and it's fantastic. Everybody's talking about it. It's popular on Xbox, it's popular on PC, PlayStation. It's the biggest hit, one of the biggest hits of the year, and it's awesome, right? I don't see that as PlayStation improving their multiplayer strategy, right? Because they just bought a studio that was already good at it. You understand what I'm saying? For me, PlayStation improving their multiplayer strategy is Guerrilla bringing back Killzone, or they create a new IP. And they have a big hit. Or Insomniac releases a new Resistance, or they release a new IP, like they get back into multiplayer, and they have a hit.
What was that word?
I look at PlayStation's organic first party. You buy,
organic.
you see what I'm saying? Yeah, what I'm saying is you buying a studio that is already known to do something good and you just absorb them, sure, got it. You're gonna make the money. But for me, hey, Microsoft improving their game output, how does Gears E-Day turn out? How does the next Halo turn out? How State of Decay 3 turn out? Fable, Perfect Dark. Did they fix those studios? Because all they did was bought Bethesda, and Bethesda was going to be Bethesda.
Right, that's what I mean. By the way,
Bethesda was going to do
P-Rock, that's all I mean by that.
Indiana Jones was Indiana Jones.
It's Indiana Jones.
Matter what happened.
Right. That team was going to do
Call of Duty.
Right.
That's not changing.
Right. So it's, you know what I mean? That was my point with that. It's not a bash on Xbox. Xbox owns them. They bought them. But listen, if you're going to go ahead and say, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's like you literally, Trippy, that's like if you went and you bought a pizza from a well-established store and you brought it over, you told me you made it. You bought it. I'll give you credit. I'm going to thank you for picking it up. You didn't make the pizza. You know what I mean? They went and bought Bethesda.
At night. Shut up. That's how I cook dinner
Sorry
at night.
about that, Wise. I didn't mean to ruin your recipe. But, you know, like, I mean, don't get, and again, kudos to Microsoft. They bought the team. Great. It's theirs. But, like, Bethesda games, the Bethesda following is massive. It's massive. Danelle Brown says, Wooly, a lot of people agree with P-Rock more. They want Sony to make smaller games. He already explained this. Wooly definitely wants smaller games as well.
I want smaller games. This is where the coherency and listening come into play, Donnell, my brother. Like, I feel like a lot of what I have said has been completely misconstrued tonight and misunderstood. Like, I have legitimately agreed with P-Rock on 99% of everything that has been said. And we both agreed, like, Sony need to do a lot better. We simply have different tastes when it comes to Insomniac's releases. Like, I think, yeah, it's impressive they put out 4 games, but when you measure what those 4 games are compared to the difference between Intergalactic and The Last of Us 2, then you kind of got to expect it to be a longer wait for Intergalactic than it would be for Miles Morales over 2018 Spider-Man. You know what I mean? So that was simply my argument. And then people don't know what iterative means. And they were arguing about what iterative means and how I don't know what that means. It's just like, I'm going to say, bro, if you don't know how reviewers use that word in game reviews...
Well, you're British. These are Americans. That's the problem. British literature.
I love that one. I love that, Wise. You're totally right.
Trust me, I teach the population. I know they don't know what the word iterative means.
Shout out to Death Singer. Death Singer, you said you were going to be a half an hour late. An hour and a half. I don't know what... Is that different in Wales? Maybe I missed that calculation. What happened, Death Singer?
I had to pop out for a bit.
we missed you, buddy.
I had to handle some business real quick.
That's all right. Well, listen, hopefully...
Sounds very mature of you, bro.
I like that.
That sounds very mature.
I like that.
Yeah. You got to go and kill a few people, you know?
So let me
say this. This is what I don't...
Go ahead, Wise, ask a question, because I'm sure, and then we'll get Death Singer's take on this.
See, this is what I don't really fucking understand. Like, all of these companies have been developing games for Sony, have been developing games for the longest time for Sony. All like your Naughty Dogs, your Santa Monica's, your whatever, right? So they got a huge back catalog. What makes sense is while I'm waiting for the next Yotai, why not make if you're going to make a remake, because you can make it faster, how about a remake of Infamous? While I'm waiting for for Intergalactic, why not remake Jak and Daxter? You know, because there are audiences that can do it, and you could probably make that remake with very minimal investment.
Yeah.
But you're just really updating the engine. This is what I don't understand. And Sony's back catalog is huge.
Yeah, I do question. Listen, you guys know there's probably... I love The Last of Us, but the fact of how many times they did come out with some of those, I don't mind it myself personally. I got them as far as collector edition, things like that. That's fine. But yeah, Wise, you make a good point. There's a lot of IP that they could have remade that would have brought back some of that nostalgia that we haven't had in quite some time. I even scratched my head at I platinum Days Gone. You know me. I'm anything post-apocalyptic and throw some zombies in there. I'm in there. But I did kind of question the whole Days Gone thing. They were sitting there saying that Sony wasn't originally pleased with the turnout of Days Gone, and then they go ahead and they put a remake of that out. I do question some of the remakes they even did. So I do wonder why. But Death Singer, what did you think about the news? And then I do have a few other topics. I sent out 12 topics to everybody. We've been on one the whole night. But this is the Jade Raymond news, and she's left PlayStation and Haven Studios. Fair Games is still being developed, though. That has not been canceled as of yet.
I don't know. She just seems to be hopping all over the place. I can't keep track of her. It's like, it just seems to be a failed project, I guess, or
She's still hot as fuck though.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like there's got to be something to it, right? Because she's constantly leaving studios, right? She doesn't stick around very long. So got to be something to it. I mean, I really don't follow her games, so it doesn't affect me any.
Yeah, I did. Well, we've been talking about for a while, right? That singer. We've been saying Fair Games may be the next game to kind of get axed, though, because it's supposed to be something in the genre of Payday, and Payday 3 really didn't do well. So
no, that genre's like, I don't know. They keep trying different genres, and it may splice into another topic, but it's like that other team they picked up.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. Yeah. Yes.
And the thing is, like, you're going into like an action. They said it was kind of MOBA-ish, and I'm like, MOBA's kind of niche anyway. But if you're going into MOBA, you have the Titan, which is League of Legends. But then you also have the other doing really well. You have Dota, and more importantly for console, you have Smite, right? Smite is going to be a big competitor. So if you're going into like the MOBA genre, and Smite kind of controls the console MOBA space. Because if you think about it, how many MOBAs? Smite's the biggest MOBA. And I know some people will go, "Oh well, Overwatch is no, Overwatch is not a MOBA. Don't do that." It's a hero shooter, and it is what it is. So,
Isn't League of Legends a MOBA?
Yeah, but it's only on PC, so it doesn't matter to the PlayStation Studio they picked up, right? Because League of Legends, like, yeah, they may release that PlayStation game on PC, but you're not going to compete with the Dota and the League of Legends anyway. So you'll have a space for yourself. So, I mean, yeah, in the console space, they actually have a good shot, that new team that PlayStation picked up, if they're going to put a MOBA right there.
So let me ask P-Rock, let me ask you a question, though, P-Rock, because you definitely came in, and I do agree with your concerns. I really do. But let me ask you a question. You said, now, Mooch, will you do this? You gave a couple different scenarios. How would you attack? P-Rock, you've got Ghost of Yotei coming out, right? Then you've got Death Stranding 2, and then you've got the Sony Santa Monica game. You've got Cory Balrog's game. You've got Intergalactic coming out. There's still something that's going to be coming out from Sucker Punch. Do you, P-Rock, as we go into the last 3.5 years of this generation, think that the Sony, because we all have short-term memory, and you remember this, P-Rock, from last generation, right? The Sony that everyone talks about with PS4 was hot. That was the second half. This is the second half. And Sony literally even said in their quarter four reports that they expect their IP and software to really blow up over the next year and then leading forward. So, P-Rock, let me ask you a question. How do you look at, as a PlayStation 5 Pro owner, how do you look at the next 3.5 years as we go into as we enter the PS6 era? Are you happy, not happy, pissed off, or do you see promise?
No, as long as the game's released, of course we'll be happy. But the game's got to release. Right now, it's just empty promises. You know what I'm saying? As long as the game's released, of course. And that's what I'm saying. Just get these games out there.
Yeah,
get them
I agree.
And stuff, right?
I agree.
But it's going to be a problem if these games, when they finally release, right? If some of them are cross-gen games for the PS6, I want to play it on the PS6, but then I'm going to be like, man, this sucks that I didn't get to use my PS5 Pro. So at that point, I will be hesitant to support any mid-gen refresh. You know what I'm saying? This goes back to a bigger conversation I had on my podcast. We had this many times. I think you might even, when you were on the podcast, you were probably even a part of the conversation. I said there's a math problem that's happening in the industry, right? If you're a platform provider, right? If you create consoles, right? Especially, and to be honest, I think this is pretty much an exclusive PlayStation, because who knows what Xbox is going to do. But Sony definitely has a math problem. They have consoles, and if they're still sticking with this 7 to 8 year generation, quote unquote, yet games are taking 5 to 6 years to make, that's not enough games for that studio per generation. Because at best, you might get 2 games at best, and that's assuming they launch a game at the beginning of the gen, at launch, which will most likely be a cross-gen game, Then they start working on the second game, and it comes out 5-6 years later, almost towards the end of the gen. That's your best case scenario for a studio. 2 games.
Yeah.
1 full game for the console and 1 cross-gen game. Like
Mhm.
Gorilla.
Mhm.
Literally.
Well,
That's
let me
not good
so
for us.
listen, because
That's terrible.
So wait, so
hold
P-Rock,
up. So I'm advocating. This is what I'm advocating. You got to extend the gen. We can't have these 7-year gens no more. It's just you just can't. If games are taking 5-6 years to make, you can't have 7-year. Let me put it this way: Mark Cerny produced more new hardware than Naughty Dog's producing new games. He released the PS5. He's released the PS5 Pro.
Okay.
And if Intergalactic comes out with the PlayStation 6, he released the 6.
the Portal.
So Sony got more new shit than a developer.
Yeah, no, listen. So everything you said, P-Rock, I can ride with you there, but P-Rock, I can ride with you there, but listen, we don't talk about this because things are different over on the Xbox side right now. But when you look at it, you've got a situation right now. What does the Coalition put out this generation?
They're hurting too.
What has 343 done besides Halo Infinite, which passed away in 3 months?
What was that quadruple A studio that they formed?
Now give Playground their flowers because Forza Horizon 5 was great, but it's going to be a while. Like Fable might be next year. That could be, if there's a delay, it could bump out to 27. So what I'm saying to you is like, because everyone's like, well, Xbox is firing on all cylinders. They went and bought 30 teams. Like, yeah, they're coming out with game, right? Mooch. So what I'm saying to you, I hear you. So, but one thing I don't agree with you though, P-Rock, is we can't extend. We can't because no, you can't. Technology.
You don't have a choice, Mooch.
P-Rock, technology
with 6-year games.
Technology's moving. Yeah, but technology's moving too fast to hold still. You can't hold still.
It doesn't matter if you don't get the games, Mooch.
I listen.
It doesn't matter.
Listen, I hear you, but P-Rock
is irrelevant without the games.
P-Rock, don't tell me that you're not happy with the third-party support on your PS5 Pro. You're still getting support. You're still utilizing the power and the money you put out of your pocket. So my point being is, you're not just waiting for first-party games. You can't sit there and extend this generation for 10 or 11 years for a couple of teams to catch up. You just can't. The PC, you're going to have the 6090 out by then. You can't do that kind of stuff and still be back at a 40 series level or 30 series. You can't.
It's not a couple of teams. It's everybody.
It is everybody. It is everybody. But that's why second party and third party play a big role.
It's only going to get worse. The more
Can I just remind you,
the development's going to take.
Can I just remind you, though, that the greatest game of the generation is about to release next month? And it's like, again, they're like backing Mooch's point. That's a second party project. Well, technically, it's third party now because Death Stranding's an IP owned by Kojima, no longer owned by Sony. But nevertheless, it's second party in spirit, right? It's Sony published, it's Sony funding. It's just, like like Mooch said, it's the PS6 is going to be supported. It's just we cannot put our faith and trust in Sony first party studios anymore like we used to. We put our in Kojima. In Godjima, we put our trust. In Kojima, we put our trust.
No, I'll use Kojima. Absolutely. And guess what? He's only releasing 1 game this entire gen.
Dude, he made Death Stranding in 3 years. Give over. Come on.
No, listen. He made Death Stranding in 2019.
Yes.
It came out in 2019. This gen, he only made 1 game. We're only getting 1 game this gen from him.
What do you expect? It's 4 years. It's been 5.
What do you mean I expect? I expect to play more than 1 Kojima game. I'm sorry.
Well, so wait. So let me. So wait. So P-Rock. Wait.
And it's not like,
wait a minute.
Listen. And it's not like I'm asking for something that I didn't do before, Mooch.
I know.
Let's not
pretend. No, I know.
Let's not pretend we had consoles. Let's not pretend we didn't have consoles where we played multiple Kojima games.
I hear you.
Come on, bro.
Well, wait.
I
am not asking for anything that hasn't been done before.
You want the cake and eat it. You want the cake and eat it, bro. Like asset quality was completely different back then. I'll explain. Let me explain.
Just to sit there.
Let me explain. You want the cake and eat it because you think that asset quality and the greater power of the console has no bearing on development and budgets and time. Like Kojima is the GOAT.
Incorrect. I did not say
No,
any of that, Bully, at all. In
no,
fact,
no,
what I
because
am saying is,
you think making Metal Gear Solid 3 after
thinking what I'm
making
thinking.
Metal
I'm
Gear
gonna tell
Solid
you what
3.
I think. I'm going to
All right.
tell you what I think. I think because of the technology, I think because of the assets, it is taking longer, and because that is taking longer to make games, you got to extend the generation. To give these developers more time
I'll ride
to
with
learn
that.
these tools and to take advantage of
Wooly,
that. That's what I think. I know.
Hold on, Wooly, listen to me.
Hold on. I know these games are taking longer. I know it's taking more knowledge. I know these developers have to learn more shit. I know these things are getting harder to do. I understand that. So with that, you got to extend the generation. We already extended generation because remember, generations were originally 5 years.
Oh, it's being extended, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. We got to extend the generation. It just has to.
But isn't that false inflation? Aren't you making an argument for false inflation? Because what's the difference, right, between you getting a game in 7 years on a PS5 and you getting a game in 7 years on a PS6? It's still 7 years. It's the same time. You're just arguing that you would rather the game be kept on a PS5 when it releases than on a PS6.
So nobody complains about cross-gen games now.
I was just that was getting
problem.
Who has ever complained about cross-gen, bro? See, the main thing is this, right? When you have a console, right, and you have a 7 year, like traditionally, and this has been since going back to the NES, right? They release a console, developers are able to produce multiple games, and every iteration of the game, they just get better and better, right? Take, for example, Naughty Dog. We'll use the PlayStation 3, for example. For example, look at The Last of Us 1 that released on the PlayStation 3 and compare that to Uncharted 1, which released in 2007. You see with every iteration of Uncharted, and then they finally capped off The Last of Us 1, you saw the brilliance of the PlayStation 3. But they did that because they released multiple games. They released Uncharted 1, Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, and then they released The Last of Us. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing with the PlayStation 4.
Well,
obviously, they had the remaster, but I'm not going to count the remaster of The Last of Us.
Did The Last of Us, bro.
That's fine. That's fine. The method of how to make multiple games, I'm not arguing. In fact, I said from the beginning, and Mooch can vouch me on this, the biggest mistake Sony did this gen, besides the live service strategy, is not to invest their studios that are known for quality and make them bigger so they can handle multiple projects. Because again, Wooly, I know it's hard to make games. So if you have, let's say, Sucker Punch, and they only have one dev team, and it takes 5-6 years to make a game, then that's all they're going to be able to produce. But if you take Sucker Punch and you invest in them, be like, hey, Sucker Punch, we're going to have, 2 teams or 3 teams. We're going to take all your core guys. We're going to promote them because they deserve promotions. You guys are phenomenal. We want to keep your talents in the studio. We're going to promote you. We're going to hire more people. We're going to get Sucker Punch 2-3 teams. Now, guess what? Each team is responsible for their own AAA projects. I'm not arguing on the method. In fact, that's really the only other answer you can do to release multiple games. You got to have multiple development studios.
That's not true. Thing is, it's like, all right, Afghanis, right? Thing is, you can have multiple teams, but that's multiple more people you have to pay. To have 3 teams, you need to hire people, right? That's more money off the book, right? So if you grow every single studio to 3 teams or 2 teams, that's a whole bunch of extra people you've now got to pay a year, right? Okay, so you have to balance the books in that scenario. But studios now have gotten to, it needs to be the best graphics, it needs to be this, it needs to be this stunning, it needs to be this. And all of these extra bells and whistles take time. Now, look at, for example, Obsidian, right? Not the biggest blockbuster games, right? Fair enough, yeah, you can't say an Avowed or The Outer Worlds is on par with like a Horizon or a God of War, right? Visually, you can't say that. But they're still putting out 3 games in 5 years. 3 games, 5 years, 1 studio with 200-something people.
Who did that? Who did that? That singer?
Obsidian.
Right? All right.
They put out They put out Grounded. They put out Avowed. They put out. See, this is the thing.
Oh my God! He said Grounded.
No.
I was thinking,
what
fucking games they released?
Grounded is way better than Avowed.
I'm like, what games did they release? So like, I don't even know what the fuck he was talking about.
They did Pentiment Avowed, The Outer Worlds 2, and then they got grounded. Now you might poo-poo it, right? And go poo-poo it, but the thing is, it's like grounded successful. All their games are successful. They don't cost a lot of money.
Ultimate was successful.
Is it really successful?
I mean, according to them, it's successful. I mean, according to them,
this.
Well, wait, grounded.
I'm gonna put it this way: Sony already covered this nonsense. No, what I'm saying is Sony already covered this. The audience on PlayStation, they put more money towards their AAAs than their indies and smaller projects. Sony said this. This is the PlayStation customer. This is the reason why Japan Studios, they were going to invest money into that studio to be a AAA studio. It was the main developer that says, no, that's not what we want to do, so we're leaving. So they shut the studio down. They didn't shut the studio down because they wanted to shut it. It's that the studio heads did not want to adopt what the gamers were actually putting their money behind. PlayStation, and maybe it's our fault. Cool, we can argue that. But the data don't lie. PlayStation gamers put more money towards the big AAA titles that Sony produces than the smaller titles than they produce it. And Sony sees that. Sony's only, at least for that respect, they see what the PlayStation gamers are willing to put their credit card, their debit card down, and that's the big AAA. So they had no intention of shutting studios down. They went to Japan Studios like, hey, this is what the gamers want. We're going to give you big money. Here's a blank check. Make a big Japan Studio AAA game. The developer's like, nah, I'm not dealing with that stress. I'm just going to leave and I'm going to start my own studio. And that's fine. But all the big leads left, so they had nothing. So they took what's left, created a Sobo, and closed down Japan Studios. But Sony's not going to invest all these big... And when you think about it, a lot of these smaller projects are like a flash in the pan, like Clair Obscur. Fantastic game. Big hit. But how many smaller studios games have been released and people just shit on it?
I think. Listen, I say this all the time. We always have this like short-term memory in the community. Like, let's use South of Midnight, right? Compulsion Games, right? I believe it was Compulsion. We Happy Few came out in 2016. Like, we're just sitting here and we're picking on just the PlayStation studios. Like I said, Coalition, where you been? Compulsion took from 2016 till this year. Right?
Bro, where's State of Decay 3? We've been watching that one trailer.
State of Decay 3.
It's
been forever.
I don't know if Claire's ever figured out yet what Everwild's supposed to be yet.
Everwild is whatever.
Everwild, I forgot about that. Where's Everwild?
The thing is, though, you also have to remember, like, most of these studios, like Undead Labs, for example, was a tiny indie studio, and they were picked up in 2018, right? So you got picked up in 2018, you want to make the best game you can after State of Decay 2, of course you're going to take all the time you want, because now you actually have backing. Half these studios that Microsoft acquired, people seem to forget, like, these were indie studios surviving by their fucking bootlaces.
Mm-hmm.
Obsidian, for example. Like, if
the optimist, Death Singer. Ever the optimist.
No, but if 2 Obsidian games failed, the studio's gone. Josh Scheuer, the head of the studio, told you that. He's like, yo, 2 of these games, that's why they did Pillars of Eternity. Like,
that isn't
they
true.
Had to. No, and that's also why Pillars of Eternity was crowdfunded. People on the internet paid for that game.
Obsidian isn't going on 2 failures, bro. They don't make a return because all their games release on Game Pass day one. Let's be consistent here. They're not.
No. Hang on, but we have to be consistent. History, right? All their games are IPs, licenses. Knights of the Old Republic 2, Stick of Truth. We're talking original Obsidian, indie Obsidian, Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2. All this shit was off their own dime, or hope for the best. And then Obsidian acquired them after Pillars of Eternity 2. So their first game was grounded for Xbox, technically, if you want to be consistent.
This is a Ninja Theory kind of situation, isn't it?
No, this isn't a Ninja Theory. This is just Obsidian has been ticking along. And even though
Ninja Theory were on the verge of closure.
Oh, even they only released one game this gen.
Yeah, they only released one game this gen.
If you can call that a game, flipping that.
Well, I mean, technically you can. Obsidian's released 4 games.
The point I'm trying to make is, though, we all know development takes a long time. We got to extend the gen.
It's
beneficial to the developers.
This is only a PlayStation issue because PlayStation put themselves in this position. PlayStation went, this is what we're doing. So if we need to extend the gen, that is all PlayStation only. That doesn't.
No, that's not just them.
No,
right,
it is.
So what new game you played from Coalition? Exactly. What are you
What
talking
do you
about,
do?
bro?
The last
Like,
game,
that's what I'm talking about. You know, like right now, the only new game you're gonna get from Coalition is Gears E-Day.
That's it.
So what are we
Yeah.
talking about,
That's what I'm saying.
right? That's
But the
like, what
bigger
are we talking
studio
about here?
has
This is like here's what I gotta understand.
Oh,
the reason
no.
why the reason why it seems like it's a PlayStation problem because we don't look at PlayStation like the way third party is. EA, right?
Mm.
EA has multiple developers under them. So obviously when they release games every year, it's because they have multiple studios under them and stuff like that, right?
How many
It's like
how many
Ubisoft and stuff like
battlefields,
that,
Puerto Rock?
you
How many battlefields have to not be
Oh.
successful to till that conversation, right? So
also we have to have the other conversation
Last
of
Battlefield you played.
the thing is though you bring
That's
up
2020?
coalition. The thing is you bring up coalition. I don't give a shit because I have other studios giving me games this year. Look how many games you're getting
No,
this
brother,
year.
man, that's not how
No,
it goes,
no,
man.
that is
You
how
you
it
guys
goes.
you guys
No,
you guys want to
because
make up. You guys want to say,
PlayStation-
oh, it's okay for Naughty Dog
No,
not to
no,
release
no,
a
no,
game because
PlayStation
Kojima
doesn't
released the
count.
game. Well, I'm
No.
asking, how come Kojima only released one game?
Thing is, this are two different things. The PlayStation issue is PlayStation gets carried off the backs of their exclusive deals, their third party and second party for the majority of their
That's not
games.
new.
Their first part,
Like, what are
yes,
we
but
talking about here?
no, this
That's
isn't
not new. Listen, let's cut this crap off. PlayStation has always since the first console they put in store, has always got and after the PlayStation went after the third party titles. They always done that. They always done that. That I don't know why we're talking about that as if it's a new thing. It's been like that since 1995.
But
That didn't change. They're not doing anything new. What I'm talking about is each individual studio, right? If each individual studio, right? I don't care if it's a third party studio, a second party deal, whatever. If that one studio is only able to make one game for the entire gen, because it takes them 5 to 6 years to make that game, but the console generation 7 years, that is a problem.
Mm.
Each studio should be able to make 2 or 3 games. Because think about it. If you're telling me, let's say if we're a studio, right? And they give us the PlayStation 6. Let's say all five of us in this room, we have a huge studio. We're learning PlayStation 6 technology. We're learning new Xbox technology, whatever. And we develop this game. And we're finally released it. And let's say it's great. And not like, hey, now we released it 5 years, 6 years into the gen. We finally released it. It's successful. Cool. Now we're like, cool. Let's start on the next project. Sony comes out of nowhere. Oh, yo, guys, we release even newer technology. So start learning that. It's been like, what the fuck? I just learned this shit. And now we're about to release a second game so we can really get good at it. Now you're telling me I gotta learn new shit already? We just got one game in the shoot. We can't keep the Mooch. Can we keep that on?
I can see.
Mooch.
Death
Let
Singer.
me ask you guys this. Every single time we decide, think about it, us 5.
Mhm.
Every single time we're about to release a new game, new technology gets put on us.
P-Rock, right. P-Rock, I just want to shut this whole thing down for a sec, right? Number one, your entire argument that games are taking too long, I feel like, is just such a drop in the ocean of importance, right? And not meaning to put down your point, but I feel like Kojima only making one game this gen, Death Stranding 2, because he released Death Stranding in 2019, isn't an issue you're trying to make it out to be. And 2, Death Singer, you know you're down bad, Death Singer, because Corey in the chat agrees with you. So that just proves that you are down bad. I'm sorry, because the moment Corey in the chat agrees with you, you've not really made much sense.
The thing is, it's like I'm speaking absolute sense. It's like
No, you're not.
The thing is, people want a God of War, a Horizon level game, and they want them sooner, and they can't get it through their head that if you want a game at such a graphical level, it will take 6 years. It will take a shit ton of money and a shit ton of time and a shit ton of people. 2,000 people, what was it to make God of War? 2,000 people, right? So you have to, you want multiple of them? Can you imagine the sheer cost of doing that? And then it's like, well, let's extend the gen. It doesn't work like that.
So
because everything revolves around money.
for one Death Stringer, I don't know what you're arguing about. Why are you worrying about how much it's going to cost Sony to do that? That's not my problem. I just care about the ultimate reception of this, right? If yes, they have 3 studios, right? Each in studios, and they're paying for each studio. Like, what's the difference? Let me put it this way: what's the difference with boosting Sucker Punch and give them 3 teams and creating 2 brand new studios? What's the difference? It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, but
instead of saying Sucker Punch Team 1, Team 2, 3, I create, Sucker Fist and Sucker Kick.
Okay.
What's the difference?
Let's run your argument. So you want 3 teams to Sucker Punch. Hang on, no, you want 3 teams to Sucker Punch, and you want them to make top quality AAA bangers, right? So 3 teams to make 3 God of War, Horizon, The Last of Us 2 level games, right? So you want 3 teams to spend 200 plus million with a whole bunch of people, and you want 3 games. All 3 games will take 6 years, right? So, okay, you start one, then 2 years down, you start the next, then you start the next. You are still waiting a shit ton of time because your expectations...
It's staggered. How do you think we get Call of Duty every year, Death Singer? You think it's the same studio making Call of Duty?
No,
they have 4 or 5 studios. Listen. It's the reason why Call of Duty... Listen, I know they don't have that because Sucker Punch is 1 studio. Think about it. The reason why they're able to create Call of Duty every year is because they have a studio that's working 3, 4, 5 years into it, and they're all staggered.
They rotate.
So Call of Duty releases every year like clockwork, but that studio that released Call of Duty, it took them 4 or 5 years to get there. But they have multiple developers doing that. So to you and I, we see a game every year. You're arguing like the background logistics. I don't give a shit. That's Sony to figure out. All I care about is Sucker Punch releasing a game like every 3 years.
But then that's
not saying the game took 3 years to make. Sure, the game probably did take 6 years to make. But the release cadence is 3 years because each of the studio has it staggered. So you and I see Sucker Punch releasing a game every 3 years. Behind the scenes, it's taking them 6 years to make.
But that is unrealistic. Your argument
unrealistic. It's clearly working for Call of Duty.
Yes, that's because...
How did we even get into this conversation? How is this even a topic?
The thing Porter Rock is missing is...
Sony got to figure out a better release cadence.
No,
and that's a good strategy.
No, it's shared numbers.
They don't have to figure out a better release cadence?
God damn it, Porter Rock. Right, listen. Right, Activision has 8 studios, the entirety of Activision, 20,000 people, all behind Call of Duty. Every single studio in PlayStation combined is behind one franchise, which is Call of Duty, right? So for you to have the Call of Duty experience games releasing, you need to have 8 studios, you need to have thousands upon thousands of people to manage that cadence. The only reason Call of Duty works like that is because the entire Activision is all dedicated to one thing, and that is making a Call of Duty game. That's it. They don't do anything else. They don't give a shit. All these studios are just dedicated to making Call of Duty because it makes the bread, right? So if you want the Call of Duty experience, PlayStation are going to have to change all their studios to be like Activision. Do you want that?
Bro, so here's the thing. Call of Duty releases every year. I'm not saying for Sony to release a game every year. A game releasing every 3 years is fine. That's enough break in between studios. That's enough break for like creativity and all that stuff. I'm not saying put them in pressure where every single year they got to release a game. But every 3 years, that should be manageable with multiple studios.
To P-Rock's credit, I will say, just to P-Rock's credit, Insomniac's cadence, I agree with 100% in that what they've managed to work down to a fine art is that before a game's released, they have a team devoted on pre-development, and the game's near enough in early to mid development before their current game releases, and so it's a really good cadence that they've got. Regardless of how I feel about the iterative kind of style that they're going for in the releases, I do feel like their cadence is on point because of that mesh that they've got going on as a studio. And I would love more studios to get in on that. I feel like Naughty Dog is just basically Neil Druckmann, the studio, instead of Naughty Dog. I feel like Sony Santa Monica kind of just Christopher Judge, the studio, instead of Sony Santa Monica. And I feel like they've not yet nailed kind of like the whole cohesive unit that they need to be in order to fulfill P-Rock's demands, right? And needs and wants and desires, but I do feel that ultimately this whole release cadence topic, I don't know where this came from, but I do feel like games take longer to make. They take on average 4 to 6 years, and if we get a game like Death Stranding 2, I'm quite comfortable with that.
Well, here's the thing, because we all go back to our favorites. P-Rock, when it comes down, I hear what you're saying, and I hear what Willie's saying. It really comes down to this. Do you enjoy games like The Last of Us 2, Ghost of Yotai, Horizon Forbidden West, Death Stranding 1 and 2? Are those the types of games that you like? Days Gone. If you like games like that, then you're going to get moving forward because of cost and time and technology and mocap and things taking longer. You're going to get one, maybe two if you're lucky, but more than likely one a generation. I don't think that means we need to elongate the generation because you just can't. Technology is moving too fast. And I know, P-Rock, you said it doesn't matter, but it really does matter. So what they need to do is they need to go get, which is what they tried to do, but they failed because they did it with live service games. We're going full circle here. The mistake was they bought smaller teams like Firewalk and Haven Studios, and the other one, what was the one called? They invested in it. They didn't buy them. Devotion or Demolition Studios, whatever that one. Deviation Studios, right? And they were going to make live service games. Now they have to stop at the live service games, buy teams that are smaller, and have them put games out that can come out every 2 to 4 years. And then you have those in between your big 7-year makers like Intergalactic and what's going to happen with Sucker Punch, etc. That's the thing. And I think we all said that when the show started, but it's not we have to stop making Death Stranding 2s and stop making Intergalactics. We just need to have other teams focus on those 2 to 3, which is what Microsoft went and did. They went and bought teams. So when people were like, and Dessinger, this is the only thing I have to counter to you is you're like, well, look at what Xbox has. Xbox went and bought these teams. They went and bought 30 teams. It's like, well, okay.
This point, I'm about extended agenda.
That's what you have to do in order for the
but the thing is, Sony and Nintendo are not really in the financial position to do that.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask this. So this is where you again. What's the difference between investing in, let's say, in Sucker Punch, Gorilla, to have more teams versus just buying separate teams with a different name? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like, I don't understand how you don't see it. It's literally the same thing. Again, okay. So instead of giving Sucker Punch 2 development teams, right? 2 more. Gorilla, a development team. So now they have 2 teams, right? Blue Point, another development team. Let's go by CD Projekt Red. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's a development studio. You have to pay for development studio. So you're paying the money for developers to make a product. Whether they fall under an already established studio or you rename an entire new studio, it's the same thing. You are having more people, right? More people to make something. The reason why I said invest in the studios that you already have and do more teams is because they already have a culture. They already make great games. And they can spread that culture within the studio and be like, all right, hey, we got great ideas that we plan, but because we were only one development team, we can never implement it until we were done with one project. But now, hey, like for example, I'll use Sucker Punch, right? Sucker Punch may have an idea, be like, hey, we have a great idea for Infamous 4, right? Or Infamous, 3, whatever you want to call it. Brand new title, but they can't do it because they have to finish Ghost of Yotai. But if they would have had another development studio, that studio would already be working on Infamous, the new Infamous. It's already being worked on. You
But
see what
then
I'm saying?
again, how much money are you putting behind the project? If you're putting the same amount you'd put behind Ghost of Yoti,
Yeah,
then it's going to
exactly.
take just as long.
How much money are they going to put into LFG? That's why I don't understand your argument, Dev Walker. Walker, if Sony announced a brand new single player studio, you would say that's wrong?
P-Rock, get his name right, bro.
That's a bad
Come on,
idea?
you can't do him bad like that.
Nah,
At
he
least
got
say
it
his
right.
name
He got
Listen,
it
no,
right.
let me ask you something. If Sony announced Turtle Rock Studios, brand new single player studios, that's bad? We would like rag them for that? Or we would be like,
to be
all right,
honest,
cool.
yeah,
Would that be a good idea? Let me ask you this. Is that a good idea or a bad idea? If Sony announced a brand new single player studio? Good or bad?
That'd be-
Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
that'd be a good idea if it makes sense to them. Sure.
Okay, cool. It's a good idea, right? So now instead of making it a brand new studio, take that same money and just say Sucker Punch. We're increasing your dev team. Now you have 2 teams. How is that different? How is that not? It's the same thing. The only difference is, I will tell you, the only difference between the two is, if you put it on the Sucker Punch, they already have a culture to adopt, as compared to a whole new studio where they have to create a new identity, and hopefully they can figure things out.
Okay, yeah, Porter Rock, let's have a second team. They also want to make a $200 million game. Okay, so now you have 2 games in production that cost $200 million, and then they both take 6 years to come out.
This guy, I don't think he gets it. Am I bugging out?
No.
Does anybody else understand what I'm saying?
Wait. In a perfect world, P-Rock, what you're saying.
I don't understand.
P-Rock,
am I bugging out?
P-Rock, no, it's not you're bugging out, but in a perfect world, what you're saying makes sense. But you're talking about, if you want to actually have you just said a new IP come out of a team, and you want to have it led by a team, like Bungie says hi, like they're having a hard time with that, right? Like other teams are having a hard time with that. You want to get fresh eyes, fresh ideas, thoughts, talent. So you do want to invest in new people that come from not with the leadership of Sucker Punch. You don't want to have that. I don't think you want to have that all the time. You don't want to have just 5 teams with 1,000 people.
That's a different argument than what Def is singing. If you want to say you don't want Sucker Punch
Got this singing, bro. I love it.
No. Yeah. If you want to argue, you don't want Sucker Punch to have another AAA $200 million project because it's the same mindset, same culture.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that.
That was poetry, bro.
But that means they're spending another $200 million. You're gonna spend another $200 million no
right.
matter what.
Right, the money.
If anything, I would wager it costs even more money to build a new studio, because that means you got to give them new facilities, new equipment. I would say that's even more expensive.
I'm on board with your plan, right? Give Sucker Punch a second team. They're just going to be making a smaller game. That's perfectly fine, because that'd make monetary sense. You have a smaller team to make smaller games, whilst the main team makes the big game. Okay, so you have the big game that takes 6 years, costs 300 million, has everything on the planet put into it, and then you have a second team which will make a smaller game that comes out every 2 years. That's what you want. That is your ideal scenario.
No. So you know what? I'm not going to argue I want or don't want that, because I'm cool with smaller games. But Death Stringer, that Sony has already shown. We need to stop ignoring what's happening. Sony has already shown PlayStation gamers' favorite AAA games by a lot, almost 37%.
That's like killing me, bro. You gotta stop putting his name, bro.
No. But I don't think that Death Stringer doesn't follow PlayStation like that. Death Stringer, I get what you're saying, but the reality is, PlayStation gamers' wallets don't agree with you. PlayStation gamers ain't really buying those small games from Sony. They're just not. I get what you're saying, but I think you're saying that from a perspective of a PC gamer. On PlayStation, when a PlayStation gamer swipes their credit card, they're putting it on the AAA game.
Right.
That's just the culture of PlayStation. Wrong or right, it is what it is.
It is what it is, as you're saying. So you want these big quality games that PlayStation gamers have shown they all buy. They'll take out their credit cards and buy these massive AAA bangers. The problem is, these massive AAA bangers take a shit ton of money and a shit ton of time. So you have a trade-off. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You either have to be AAA. No, you can't.
Listen, let me help you out. It's pretty simple, and I'm just use rudimentary. Team A starts this project, right? And they're already like 2-3 years in development. Let's say Team 2, Team 3 kind of helps out.
Death Springer, listen up.
I'm just using. I'm just hold on. I'm just using a quick math. Team A starts their project. All three teams are like, all right, got it. Team A is 3 years into the project. Team 2 says, all right, we're splitting off because we have another idea. We're going to start our own project. Team 3 is like, all right, we're going to assist Team 1 until completion. So now Team 1 and Team 3, they get the game all the way out to completion 6 years in. 6 years in, Team 2 is 3 years into the game. Team 3 decides, all right, we help you release the game. We're going to start our own project. Team 1's like, hey, we're pretty much done. Let's help T2 out, get theirs to completion. 3 to 6. You see what I'm saying? That's pretty much what's going on. They're round robbering. They're helping each other out. But you got this 3 years, and I get it. Nothing's perfect. But notice, the games are taking 6 years, but halfway into one project, the other project begins. By the time the first project ends at 6 years, the second project is already 3 years into development cycle. So you got this leapfrog strategy where all the teams are helping each out, and you got a better cadence. I understand it's not perfect. Maybe it's a 4-year cycle, but it's much better than what we're getting now.
No,
That's what I'm saying. That is very doable.
But
I just want to know why this is an issue of topic of discussion.
Yeah,
like,
I want to
why
get like
suddenly release cadence becoming like this big issue. Where has this come from? We found out Haven is probably in trouble. We found out.
I'm gonna tell you. Going back to the beginning, studios only able to make one game per gen is bad. Period.
Yes,
absolutely bad.
They can't learn from their mistakes, right?
Well, it's not. I don't know. I don't know if it's learned by their mistakes. What he's saying is that's the new development time. That's what he's saying. It's taking them.
Well,
and that's not acceptable.
7-year gens, 5 to 6 years to make a game. The math don't math. So if a studio stuck with one game for the platform, and maybe 3-4 years later you do a cross-gen, that is bad. That has to be resolved.
P-Rock, would you walk with me with this one, though, for a second? Isn't that what Naughty Dog did? They hired a ton of new people, right? And they were working on 2 different things, Factions, and they were working on Intergalactic. So they were doing that. The real culprit this generation for PlayStation wasn't that they actually didn't use your strategy. It was that they made live service games that ended up getting canceled, and you wasted. So what you wanted, teams were doing. Because you even had the guy from Sucker Punch, I believe it was Sucker Punch that said it, where he was, or it was Gorilla, one or the other. I think it was Sucker Punch. He's like, we're cooking, and that was that game that got canceled. But then he's like, well, we're still working on something else. Like there's another team working on something else. So what you've asked for actually was happening to a certain degree. Maybe not to what you wanted, and that's fine. That's fine. But it failed this generation because the live service games are what the other teams were working on, not another 3.
I would say that's a fair point. If let's say Sony implement, but I would say that's a fair point, right? If Sony did implement the strategy, but that other game would be live service, then yes,
right. That's where we are, and that's where they effed up. Bingo,
that would
bingo.
Be a fair point.
All right.
So now to go back to Kojima, listen, I'm not going to blame Kojima because Kojima, when he makes a game, he takes, he's on his own. He's not a super big publisher, and when he does finish a game, he does take his vacation. So chances are Kojima will probably never ever get to the point to make more than one game per gen. I was just using an example that we're only getting one game for Kojima, but that's just him. He's not going to produce 2 games or 3 games per gen. He's not trying to do that. He enjoys his lifestyle. That's the reason why he left Konami. He's gonna make his one game, and you ain't gonna hear shit from him. Because if you follow Kojima, you see once he finishes a game, he does a lot of traveling. He's into reading, watching niche movies and reading books. He enjoys his time, and he deserves it. So let me Kojima specifically, you're never gonna get more than one game for him. But that's his lifestyle.
You gotta suck it up, bro. You just gotta suck it up. Okay. It's the reality. Like what my issue isn't development time. My issue isn't development time.
Anything from a consumer industry,
bro. My issue isn't the development time of first party studios, because let's face it, you don't buy a PS5 and only buy first party games. You've got third party cadence to satiate you, and second party games as well throughout the generation. And the first party games are a great thing to be excited for as well, if and when they arrive. But I do think a bigger issue is the management of the studios, the budgets, going into like 20 chefs in the kitchen when you only need 2 or 3, and ruining games. Like, they had 25 to 30 writers on Spider-Man 2. I'm not exaggerating, by the way. That's legit. It was outrageous. and it's like so messy and didn't mesh, and it's like they just overindulge in areas that weren't necessary to indulge in, and Sony just let them spend, over hire, mass hirings, and it later impacted the studios in a very negative way, and massive costs were cut. And it's like, well, that's a bigger issue for me. That interferes with development time. It's not.
Here's the thing, Willie. I ride with you on some of your sentiment of how they spent and this and that. But the one thing is that one team, even though you feel the way you do about that game, which by the way you have every right to feel about, is that team still put out. Now they weren't new IP, but they put out 3-4 games this generation. You know what I mean? And Wolverine's on the way. So I mean, that's yes, you're right.
Mentality, bro. That's the Game Pass mentality. It's quantity, not quality, right?
Well,
right?
Well, I mean, there's people who.
I'm going to have to call your bullshit out.
I don't think people.
No,
Willie.
Listen.
No, Willie. Here's the thing. Hold on.
Willie is one gamer out of 77 million PlayStation gamers. If you don't like the game, that's you. That's not a reflective. The game sold 11 million in 3 months. Lots of gamers enjoyed it. You see it on Twitter,
bro. Of course it did.
Well, forget Spider-Man. I'm willing to move on to the other games.
At the end of the day, it's a game people enjoyed and played, which is more than what people can say with a new game from Naughty Dog, which is non-existent.
But well, you're not.
I guarantee if you ask the average PlayStation gamer.
But are you implying because
what I'm saying is if you ask the average PlayStation gamer that has conversation about PlayStation, knows a little bit, and you tell me what's one of the best PlayStation studios this gen, most of them is going to say Insomniac. Not even questionable.
No, but
most of them is going to say Insomniac through and through. Period.
But what I think
most PlayStation gamers are
hold on,
really
P-Rock,
happy of what Insomniac has done this gen.
Right.
Let me have one thing.
You're saying too much, man. Let other people talk for a minute.
Well, all right. One last point, and I'm going to shut up. Not only did they release games, but they actually showed the technology of the PS5. They were one of the first to do ray tracing at 60 frames to show machine learning. So they did more than just release games. They
Why are you talking about a cross-gen game, bro? Why are you talking about a cross-gen game, bro? Ain't that a cross-gen game that you're talking about, bro? A cross-gen game? The very thing you have a problem with?
No, but
Willie, one sec, guys. One sec.
They got ripped apart, bro. The ripped apart, not push the technology again, bro.
But did Rift Apart release way after Miles Morales, bro?
Technology with them. You understand what I'm saying?
Didn't Miles Morales release first with that technology, bro?
So scratch Miles Morales, bro. Talk about Rift Apart. Wow, the first part of Studio did what Insomniac did with Rift Apart.
But Wooly, are you trying to imply? No, but Wooly, are you implying that because Insomniac's games, per your opinion, are iterative, that is the reason why they were able to get them out at such a fast cadence because they're not putting anything new?
I'm saying it certainly contributes to the cadence in them being iterative, yes. Because they're building on the same tech, like every studio does that. That's no question. But they considerably scaled back development with Spider-Man 2. That is well-known fact. You watch every retrospective on Spider-Man 2 in the last year on YouTube, it will all sing from the same hymn sheet. Every video. You watch White Light's video, you watch even Skill Up's glowing review of Spider-Man 2. He talked about it on the Friends podcast later, and he did it dirty. Because let's face it, we all know Skill Up is really inconsistent, right? We all know he's really inconsistent. But the point is, bro, is that it's unanimous. The unanimous attitude towards Spider-Man 2 is that, and I'm not trying to just hate on one game. It's the overarching point is that, mate, I don't even know the point anymore.
I think I do. I see what he's saying because they didn't do new IP. They were able to get more games out faster, and that does hold a certain amount of water. But I mean, at the same time, I would say that they were quality games, Willie, and they did sell very well. And I know you made the Game Pass comparison. I mean, you can't find 4 or 5 games like that are in Game Pass. I mean, like not that came from the Xbox studio.
I was tongue in cheek.
Right. No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
It was 100%.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Okay, but how many? Okay, but even at 300,
Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West is a iterative game. Where's the next?
Bro, I did not enjoy that. So yeah, we are right on. We are right on the same hymn sheet. I don't like Horizon, bro. And I agree.
God of War Ragnarok.
I agree. Why did
nothing else? You see what I'm saying?
Sony's first party the last
You know?
the last 5
But
years?
they all sold
God
and
of War
made money.
Ragnarok was extremely iterative.
I'm gonna
And
say
of
this.
course
I'm gonna
he
say this with
sold
Spider-Man.
well. Of
I'm gonna
course
say
he,
this.
of course he
I
sold
played-
well because it's flipping God of War. It's Spider-Man.
Okay.
They're gonna sell well. They're gonna sell super well in the
But if
first
this
3
is-
days.
if-
But that
from a
doesn't
business
change the
standpoint, if
overall
this is what-
I'm gonna say
retrospective
this.
view.
I'm gonna say
If
this.
this
I'm
is
gonna
the
say
amount of
I'm gonna say
effort
this.
that they're putting and they're still making money, then what's wrong with it from a business standpoint?
Well, he's not talking
Well,
about a
that's
business
not-
standpoint.
Whether
Fine.
it's
Fine.
iterative or
I'm gonna say
not,
this.
if this is what
Yeah.
they're doing and it's making them money, what's the point? I don't see what we're
Because
arguing
I'm a
about.
gamer. I'm not a shareholder, bro. I'm a gamer.
He's
I'm
not.
not a
He's not.
shareholder.
He's not
I
talking
don't
about the
care.
money of it. He's not talking about the money of it.
But as a gamer, you need games to play. But let me say this: Spider-Man 2. If you play Spider-Man 2 and beat it, and they also released a remaster, and you go back and play the remaster, you know they made advancement. You could just feel it. Spider-Man Remaster, which is the better version of the 2018 game, that's
Disagree.
slow, clunky. Oh, get out of here! It's not
Bro,
even
it
close.
is not better. They butchered the main character. They changed his face, and it completely alienated the established character that we fell in love with. And like, no, it's not a better version. Technically, it's better, yeah. But go figure, it's a
That's what I'm
remaster.
talking about.
That's what he's. I think
That's
that's what he's
what I'm
talking about.
Technical
Yeah.
version. That's what I'm talking about, technical version. So you can clearly see from a technical perspective, it's way more advanced. And
Well,
way more advanced than the
definitely.
remaster, let alone the 2018. I can only imagine how it would feel if I went back and played 2018 originally.
It's
I
built
can
from
only
the ground
imagine
up
how
for the
far behind.
PS5, bro.
You
Of
see what
course,
I'm
it's
saying? And-
superior.
And there you go. And guess what?
So-
and look what Insomniac did.
I've got.
They
Listen.
released a cross-gen, then they released a brand new Rift Apart, and then they released a built from the ground of Spider-Man 2.
I'm really happy
Meanwhile,
for you.
You know what I'm saying? I'm
Hold on, here, listen.
happy for me because I got to play games.
Listen, guys,
So-
we're going around in a
I'm so
circle. I
happy
got.
for you, bro.
I literally
Who's
have.
being happy over this.
I got to do a speed round, or I got to change the entire title of the show to just Jade Raymond leaves. Hold on a second. Let me do. I got another couple of super chats here that I want to do a couple speed rounds with you guys real quick. JW even tried to get in. He's like, "Oh, this screaming! I got to get out of here." Shout out to JW City, by the way. We got was it Anonymous Boss here? Anonymous Boss comes back. He says, even there are rumors that Siphon Filter is coming back. Let's hope it comes back. I don't know about that. He's talking about that because I think Siphon Filter, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, guys, that was one of the games that Jade Raymond had worked on, I believe, back in the day, which was another claim to fame. Danelle Brown says, here comes the road.
That's a Sony Bang game.
What is? Oh, Siphon Filter. I'm sorry. He said, I'm sorry. I was thinking of,
Yeah, that's
what
a
am I?
Sony
No,
Bang
wait.
game.
I'm talking about.
We know they ain't
No,
doing it.
no, it's not. Yeah, I don't think Siphon Filter. What was the game that she worked on? I thought that was the same.
Blacklist, Splinter Cell, Blacklist.
Splinter
mate. It's
Cell.
a
Thank you,
stupid one.
Splinter Cell. I'm sorry. I'm typing it and thinking at the same time. It's not working out.
But by the way, Mooch, it needs to be said, she didn't just work on Splinter Cell Blacklist. She single-handedly managed
Mhm.
3 studios
Yes.
under the Ubisoft umbrella
Yep.
across different countries and unanimously kept them glued
Yes.
together to create one of the best stealth action games that nobody has played. And I swear down,
Yeah.
she is pure talent.
No,
That
listen.
girl
I'm not going to
She's
argue with
pure
that.
talent, but she's extremely unfortunate. She
I-
has been just
I would say
So
she's had
unfortunate.
some bad luck in the past couple of runs for sure. I mean, I guess that can happen when you're an artist and you're in development like that. I mean, things like that can definitely happen. Trippy says here, Danelle Brown says, here comes the road mappers. These are, by the way, guys, this is over an hour ago, so don't think these are about what the last conversation. Trippy says, what we as PlayStation gamers believe will be hits, the PlayStation executives believe otherwise. That's interesting, Trippy, because we always say this, right? We've been saying this. Wooly knows this. Porter Rock knows this. Death Singer, we've been doing this for a long time. We always say you never know who's listening. I wish more of the executives would listen to all shows. All shows. Because to be honest with you, have your ear to the ground. I know you may say, well, Mooch, the hardcore doesn't speak for the casual market. That's fine. I'll ride with you on that. But in all honesty, a lot of times when the hardcore are really invested in a single player game and it's a damn good game, man, that game makes them money, makes them happy. And it's a good game, makes us happy. Shout out to Yatzak. Yadazak. He says, why buy a PS5 to play Xbox games? Now, Yadazak is I believe he's a big Xbox fan. I'm not sure he can tell me if he's wrong, but why buy a PS5 to play Xbox games? People are not buying a PS5 to play Xbox games. Even though Yadazak is probably loving all the headlines and the gaming media that's like, PlayStation's biggest games were Forza Horizon 5 last month. There literally nobody was like, oh, I got $700. You know what I want to play? Forza Horizon 5. I'll buy a PS5 Pro. That didn't happen. It didn't go down like that. That's not how it went down. Shout out to Easy E. He says P-Rock has many bad takes, but he's right. I'm not buying 3 consoles in 8 years for 7 exclusives. I'm just going to buy a PC. Okay, I mean that's fine, Easy E, but remember, Easy E, even when you buy a PC, okay, within 7 years you're going to be 3 graphics cards back. Right now, you might go, it doesn't matter, but
it's not
Mooch,
true.
I just got to read. There's one comment that isn't a super chat, but I got to read it like it's a super chat.
Okay,
because it's so beautiful. Warawana, he put. Wooly saying I'm a gamer almost brought a tear to my eye.
That's right.
So I'm right there with you, bro.
Right there, Warawana. But no, Death Singer, go ahead and speak your piece. The reason I'm saying that is 2018, I got the 2080 Ti. Here we are, right? What is that? 7 years. 7 years has gone by. 2080 Ti came out in 2018. I got it the day it came out. Okay. Then you've had the 30, the 40, and we're at the 50. So I was even off by one. It was actually more cards have come out in 7 years. So what I'm trying to say to you is, you can't just say I'm going to go buy a PC and I'm not going to worry about the conversation. Still fits that PC gamer.
No, but the thing is, it's like
I don't think it does.
No, people. The thing is, people have this misconception. I need to shut this shit down, right?
What do you got?
People think every motherfucker on the planet with a PC upgrades soon as the next graphic card comes
No,
out.
they don't. They don't.
The next motherboard comes out. Soon as it comes, like you go from a 30 to a 40 to a 50. No, people go from a 30 to a 50. Or they go from a 20
correct.
to a 40.
That's right.
20 to a 50.
But that's still a 6 to 7 year duration, which is what we've been talking about all night with consoles.
So
all to play League of Legends.
I would say the big difference between, let's say, PC and console gamers, you'll never hear a PC gamer who bought a 5090 say, why is this game still running on a 2070? They don't care about that.
Right.
We do. But the term cost-gen gaming is a console term.
Right.
That is not a PC
That
term.
is true.
We say that, and that is not a positive view.
No, it's not.
We look at it negatively because we see it as impactful to the console.
We see that it holds back. Right. We feel that it holds back development of the merchandise we just bought. Right.
Exactly. Now keep in mind this. Look at this. Look how long cross-gen lasted this gen. And that's with the PS4 and Jaguar cores. You think it's gonna get shorter with the PS5? That actually launched with competent hardware? PS4 went deep into this gen, like 3-4 years deep into cross-gen with Jaguar cores.
That's what I was going to say to you.
What do you think is gonna happen with the PS5 and the PS5 Pro? You release a PS6, that sucker is gonna be 5 years deep into that gen.
That's right. I agree.
So people think cross-gen is bad now? Stand the fuck by.
Yeah, wait till you get a load of next gen. That's right.
You're gonna be, let's say if next gen did start in 2028, right? Let's say it did. Let's say 2028 is the target year, right? It's gonna be 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 2033, and you're still gonna have a game made on the PS5. And if people are gonna be like, what the fuck did I buy a PS6 for? You might as well just deal with it. You might as well adopt the PC gamer mentality.
Bro, the same reason I bought a PS5 Pro.
Let me ask.
Same reason I bought a PS5.
I actually have to push back against Porter Rock because Porter Rock is saying something. The thing is, nothing's held back on PC, right? Let's take someone has a 2080 and they want to play Assassin's Creed Shadows, and then someone has a 5090, right? Right. You brute force that bitch to run 4K 60,
and you're still not happy.
You have the sheer power to do it. Consoles don't have that luxury because they're a locked box.
Well, besides that,
the problem is, Death Singer. There's one big problem to your point, Death Singer, is that you're still not happy. You can have you can have that game on max settings at 60 FPS, 4K, and you'll still be unhappy that it's not 120 FPS. I guarantee it. Like you are never happy. A PS5 Pro gives me a no compromise experience because obviously, in relative terms, everything's compromised. There will always be compromise. A 5090, there is compromise, but it's not costing me $4,000. It's costing me like 700 quid to to experience the optimum version of a console experience. That's just easy to enjoy.
Yeah, you're having the optimum console experience. But the thing is, it's like when you factor in everything you pay for on the console, and then let's say I just bought a 5090, right? Let's say I bought the 5070 for 500, right?
Mhm.
You bought a PS5, then you bought a PS5 Pro, then you paid for let's say
So that's
PSN, right? Let's be generous, right? I just bought a graphics card for the price of a PS5 Pro, and that's the end of it. So I spent as much money as you. You bought 2 consoles. I just bought a new graphics
Well,
card.
now Death Singer. I'm a little disappointed. You forgot Moochonomics. He didn't pay $700. He traded in his PS, or at least you have the option to trade in. Maybe Willie didn't, but you have the option to trade in your PS5. So I didn't pay $700 for my Pro. You know what I mean? I got $330. So I mean, I paid 300 and change for 350, 360, 370 bucks, something in that range for the Pro. Now, again, that's small potatoes. But I'm saying that when you said the brute force, when you said, hey, somebody who has a 2080 and they want to go ahead and brute force it, that's fine. But that's no different than what Porter Rock said the first 4 years of this generation was, when games could play that we were buying on this generation were on the PS4. The only difference is, instead of us, the consumer, brute forcing it and going into the menus, the developers made the game playable on the PS4 and the Xbox One. They did the brute forcing for us. They just put the disc in or downloaded the game. So you can still do that. Again, it's you have more options in the upgrade category. But if you're going to go backwards, the backwards thing, that's what P-Rock's concern moving forward is. He's saying this generation was 4 years till we got out of the cross-gen. I agree with him. I think the PS6 era goes 5 years, where the PS5 Pro goes lingering longer into the PS6 era. But again, that's the same thing as a brute force of somebody who at that time, right? Let's fast forward, Detzinger. Now the 6090's out. So somebody with a 3070 would have to brute force their game. Well, somebody with a PS5 Pro or a PS5, the company would have to make sure that the game runs on that console as well, especially for the first 4 to 5 years in the next gen. That's what we had this generation. A lot of the games from third party and first party in both respective camps were playing games on cross-gen. So you're still brute forcing it. The only difference is you're doing it manually on a PC, and the developers are doing it for those with a console.
And Mooch, when a game looks as good as Assassin's Creed Shadows, runs at 60 FPS at high fidelity on the PS5 Pro,
right?
Any extra frames and any slight improvement on shadow quality,
yes,
it's so marginal. It's so marginal that your eyes adjust so quickly that you struggle to tell the difference unless you compare them both side by side. Like, I played Death Stranding at ultra settings, 4K on my PC.
Yeah,
and it felt like I was having the exact same experiences on my base PS5, let alone my PS5 Pro. And it's like, having the devs optimize a game for you, it takes away that constant FOMO of, can I improve it somehow? Can I improve my performance?
Willie, listen, here's the thing. Here's a scenario I'll give you real quick to kind of put things in perspective. I remember when I got one of the first, what was it there, though? It wasn't Panasonic. I believe it was, I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was Panasonic. Anyways, one of the first, what was it before OLED? They had the, now I'm forgetting what the hell it was called, but it was the flat screen TVs that were unbelievable, and it had the true colors, and everything was unbelievable. It was great. And a buddy of mine comes over, he goes, wow, that's a great TV. I go, yeah. And he says to me, he goes, I'll be honest with you. He goes, it does look great, but he goes, in my head, the TV that I got that's flat screen is just as good. And this is before OLED, right? So I go, okay. And he goes, listen, unless you put these TVs right next to each other, no one's ever going to know. So that's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So I understand what you're saying, but like you said, if legitimately you were to put a 5090 version of Death Stranding director's cut next to the base PS5 one on a similar TV or a similar monitor, there is I would say there's a substantial difference there.
There is a massive difference. You would have to be out.
But you have to put
PS5 Pro could do all 59K.
Right, but that's not what he said. That's not what he said. No, that's not what he said. I was just about to say, Willie, you were saying if they're not side by side, right?
Yeah, once you've got all the bells and whistles and you boot up that game on Ultra, I've done it with Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh, Plasma TV, that's what it was.
I've had that bad boy at max resolution, at that maximum fidelity visuals, full ray tracing, super high resolution, and I've got it crisp and gorgeous. And I'm like, okay, now what? It's the same game, like for real. Like I'm not it doesn't pay off. Like how people only make out that it pays off on YouTube videos. It's for content. Like when you're actually playing the game, you just you accept what's in front of you. You accept you like when we play a game on the PlayStation, we accept what we are seeing and experiencing as the game we're playing, and we immerse ourselves into what we're playing there and then, and we enjoy it, right? It like we were loving the visuals of Assassin's Creed Shadows for the first 20 hours before it got boring. Like we were immersed on a PS5 Pro and thinking, this is incredible, this looks gorgeous, this looks great. We're not going, oh no, it's not as good as a 5090 would run it. And so to me, the payoff is so diminished in what is required. And imagine being the guy who trades his 4090 in for a 5090. I mean, I would never want to be that guy. What an absolute, just admit it, bro. The 50 series has ripped you off next to no end. Like, what an absolute scam that was. Like, it's abysmal. Like the performance output that you're getting from them cards. They're like, it's like you've swapped your DualSense for an Xbox controller. It's crazy.
Well,
bro.
so let me do this, guys. So that's get your point in, and then I just want to ask you guys a couple of round robin questions about the other topics. Otherwise, I got to change the entire subject line to just Jade Raven leave studio.
Let me make one thing on the PC point. Let me just two last pieces. Number one, the one thing about PC though, and we see it, they cater to minimums. They I ain't gonna say cater, but when the developer makes a game on PC, they establish a minimum spec. So they tell the community, if you want to play a game, you got to have at least this. But once you go above that spec, you're going to get a better experience with every iteration, right? So that's why they say, hey, if you want 720p 30 frames, you got to have this and whatever, we've seen it. So that's why on the console side in 2020, we were telling the Xbox community, Xbox Series S is going to hold back your Series X because that's going to be the minimum spec. Not the Series X, right? Series X is not going to be your minimum spec because then you're going to have issues. And some developers did that. Some developers used the Series X as the minimum spec. And then they're like, all right, now let's put it for Series S. And they're like, oh, shit, wait a minute. We're fucked. That's how we were telling you guys. That's how it works. That's how developers make games. If they intend a game to release on a specific card or whatever, they're going to have a minimum spec, and then they just work their way up for the bells and whistles, right? Now, as far as PC, the argument about is more expensive, listen, that's just eye of the beholder. I'll be honest. Most PC guys that you have genuine conversations, the conversation is 60 frames. They're not about that no more. Most PC gamers in the community who are moderate or hardcore gamers, they pretty much play around 100 FPS, whether it's 1440p, bells and whistles. But some or most are. I can understand maybe content creators who grift, but most PC gamers, 1440p, 100 frames. That's where they're at now. That's like normal for them. The conversation of whether their game runs lock 60, they'll laugh at you. They're not going to have that combo.
They've moved on.
They're not having that combo. No, that's a console problem.
Wait a minute. So P-Rock, the only thing I'll say is
it's like 1440p, bells and whistles, 100 frames. That's where most of them are at right now.
I would say
about 60 frames.
I would say
PC gamers don't talk 60 frames.
Yeah, but P-Rock,
looking at you like what?
P-Rock 60 frames really unplayable, bro.
No.
That's a different argument.
No.
That's a different argument.
But here's the P-Rock.
I'm not making an argument. I'm just saying they elevated to that average for them. For them,
P-Rock.
A lot of them are
P-Rock.
1440p,
P-Rock.
100 frames.
No. Listen,
that's where they're at.
Listen, the same way we talk about the hardcore in the console market, we have to respect the same thing in the hardcore in the PC market. When you say that people have moved on to 1440p at 120 frames now, that's the community that is entrenched with us, and we talk every day with them, in the gaming, in the PC and console space. I have plenty of friends in my office that game only. They don't have a PS5. They don't have an Xbox. They play only on PC. And they're still, I'll be honest with you, they're still playing it. Some of them are still playing at 1080p 60, and they're fine with it. So I don't know where the average is sitting right now. I know in our community, you're right, P-Rock. But like in our community, we're also, you see people like Ryan.
But the reason why I bring up that is because if we're talking about the PS5 Pro, there's the hardcore community that talks pro. You see what I'm saying? So if we're going to align
right.
PS5 Pro versus PC,
Right.
we're talking about hardcore niche guys. We're not talking.
That's right. That's right. If you're talking
That's
pro,
what I'm saying.
if
So
you're talking pro,
yeah.
I'm talking console and PC, not pro and 5090s. I'm talking about, because you see everybody in the community and everyone that we both follow, Porter Rock, that's a PC gamer.
Yeah.
They're all like, I got a 4090 or higher, right? Everybody.
Yeah.
But in reality, that's not reality. Like but not.
Then again, in reality, like 1080p, like people have this conception. It's like competitive games. You want to be playing in 1080p, right? And people think, no, you don't want to be playing. No, trust me, you want to dial back all the settings because you want to maximize screen space and frame rate, right? Now, let's take, for example, Fortnite, right? I turn everything off. I turn shadows off. I turn everything to low. I turn absolutely everything down. It looks like a PS2 game, but that means it removes bushes. It removes stuff that shouldn't be there.
Right.
And then I can see you and I can get the win. So you'll see 1080p is the highest. That's because on Steam, Counter-Strike is a highly competitive game and you want to be playing at 1080p when you play a game like that. So cause and effect. But even if you're not put 1080p maxed out settings, still looks good. Like on a 1080p monitor. Like, I don't know.
Well, again,
I'm sorry, bro. I gotta laugh at Bless Red, bro. He's now saying
insane.
He's now capping for 200 FPS, and it's like, bro, where do you draw the line? Next, you're gonna say 200 is rubbish, and the 300 is 300 or no go. Like it's like, bro, like I said, all you're doing, Bless Red, in the chat, bro, is you're proving my point. You are proving my point that you lot are never happy. You're constantly comparing frame rates with each other. You bounce from one to the other and you're like, oh no, the difference is stark. Yeah, of course it is, because you keep switching. But if you just like 60 FPS is so playable, like it's crazy. Like here, Death Singer has been talking about drastically potatoing his visuals to get max performance out of a game. That is not the mindset of console gamers at all. That's not what we're about.
He's doing it for competitive because he's removing bushes where they were high.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's a very unique scenario.
Yeah,
but let me ask you this, Wooly. Let me ask you this, Wooly. Let me ask you this. Rumors, but let's just play this little game. PSSR 2.0, supposed to be dramatic improvement.
Next year, yeah.
What if your pro, and because of PSSR 2.0, now has your games that you're playing right now, let's say, for example, Assassin's Creed Shadow, now you can play it at 4K 120, and they easily does it. You're telling me you won't play it at 120, 4K?
Well, let me tell you something,
without
bro.
Reducing quality, without reducing... Like the game you're playing now you got to play it at 120.
Why go 4K? You should have said 1440p.
Well, put it this way. Let me answer. You know the 60 FPS mode on the PlayStation 5 Pro for Shadows? Yeah. It doesn't have the hair physics, whereas the 40 balance mode does. So I play it in balance mode at 40 FPS because I want that immersive experience. The visual trade-off of having plastic hair isn't worth the 20 frames to me. I would much rather enjoy that slightly crisper visuals with better rendered hair and enjoy the shadows a bit more and everything like that at 40 FPS than to even slightly potato the visuals so that it breaks that immersive factor of the hair rendering to get the squeeze 20 extra frames like that. So that's just me. If you are saying there is absolutely no fidelity, if you're saying there is absolutely no fidelity loss at all in graphics or image quality at 120, then of course I'll take the extra frames. The point is that the level of priority that the PC demographic put on this, it only goes to add, I believe, to my argument of the PS5 Pro that like you guys are you're in such a niche where every frame counts to the point where you're willing to even potato your visuals, and 200 FPS is your absolute bare minimum. It just sounds ridiculous. To me, it sounds extreme. It sounds completely extreme. But you're conditioned to that. I'm not trying to disrespect you. I'm just trying to say, like, you are conditioned to extremes because you have always got the latest and greatest tech, and you're trying to constantly play with the.
But I think
the
it's because
settings.
they have access to that. I think the same thing happens to what literally, technically, we're doing the same thing PC gamers are doing. We're just a step behind by a margin because Sony also said the average PS5 gamer plays at 60 FPS, which dramatically tones down visuals.
Well, they
So we
actually
did
said
it. We
that
technically-
40%
we-
play at 30.
Yeah. We
40%
technically,
play at 30, bro. That's a huge
Performance.
portion of the
Yeah.
demographic.
But what I'm saying is we technically are doing the same thing. I think over time, as Sony provides better frame rates for smoother experience, we're going to keep adopting the smoother frame rates over a strand of hair and shining glimmer.
Okay,
And I think
that's
I
agree.
we're just slower to the punch.
And where will the PCMR be by then, bro? 500 FPS or no go?
Probably
Like
so.
500
I mean,
is about
probably
minimum.
1,000 FPS. You know what I'm
I
saying?
know, right?
I guess.
Hey,
but to be fair,
I think we're just slower to the punch, but we're adopting the same mentality. I think on average, most PlayStation gamers want the frames than the glitz. Not saying that all agree, but a lot of PlayStation 5 gamers are opting for the performance mode
it's the standard.
over the
Yeah,
quality
it's the
mode.
standard. It's the standard.
Yeah.
This
They
generation,
want that 60 frames.
the standard. Yeah, it's the standard. Like, there's no is there any? And I don't know, but is there any 30 frames per second only games on PlayStation? I don't even think so. I think all of them.
I can't think of a game this generation that's 30.
I think Empire.
Yeah,
I keep saying Empire Events.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. The only reason why I know of that game because I use it as a shit talking point because that's the one game that's 60 frames on the Pro. So when people say, the Pro can never do 60 unless it's 60 on the PS5, I'm like Empire Advance. So it's just a shit talking point.
Bless Red's now trying to like money shame those with a PS5 Pro, trying to say PS5 Pro is just it's a poor man's PC, high end PC. It's like, bro, you have taken such an L with the 50 series that you are struggling to get 60.
I mean,
so many
Porter Rock,
games.
they must have fixed it, Porter Rock. Because right now it's the game targets 30 frames a second on PS5 and Xbox Series X and 60 on the Pro. So they must have updated or some shit. But yeah, I mean that's
what are you talking about?
They must have patched the game or updated the game that allows us.
I think that's
what I'm saying is no. On the Pro, it was always 60.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what
On
he's saying.
the PS5, it's locked at 30.
It was 30.
And you asked, and when you said who, I'm just letting you know the reason why I even know of the game is a console.
Yeah, because of that.
So So listen, let me do this, guys.
Even if it's a console or talking point, it is still true. It is a game that runs 60 frames on the Pro, but not on the Series X and the base PS5. It is locked at 30. That way, when people say, well, if it's not 60, if Grand Theft Auto 6 is not 60 frames on the PS5, then it's not going to be on a Pro. I'm like,
the Pro.
That's not a true statement.
But that's a good ratio this generation for like all the damn games that have a performance mode. And I think ultimately that's what gamers wanted last generation.
Well, Jay,
and definitely this generation.
That's what I was trying to say to P-Rock when he said you have to elongate the generation. The thing about it is you can't, because expectations, even in the console market, do begin to grow. They want like 60 is what people are now in the console market. And I know Blessed Red's laughing at this, and that's fine. If you're always a PC gamer, that's fine. But 60 frames is kind of the standard right now. Remember the great Aaron Greenberg tweet, right, Jay? 60 frames is now the new standard, right? And that's
exactly.
And that's the one thing.
And then their first two games was locked at 30.
Was locked at 30, right? So I mean,
that was crazy.
So that's wild in itself. But that's the thing. And now, and this is the thing, P-Rock, with PSSR 2.0 and 3.0 as we approach the PS6, okay? 120 is going to be that number, and you're going to see console gamers start saying that.
We're going to adopt that,
right?
We're going to make that, right? And we're going to normalize that,
right? And that's not saying that anything you like or if you prefer quality, because I know a lot of people that like quality mode. Guess what? That's fine, but even quality should be playing at 60 as we move forward.
Yeah, the balance. Yeah,
right.
Like eventually, we probably won't have. Well, I'm not gonna. You know what? Console industries.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
These motherfuckers will try to do 12K 30. They're gonna find a way to stay on 30.
30.
Even if
he's not wrong.
They're gonna find a way.
He's not wrong.
They're never
Anything
gonna
more
let
than
30 go on
4K
consoles.
is stupid.
I
I've heard about
agree.
this
Well,
whole
I agree.
Wooly,
18
that's why I noticed. Well, I don't know if you guys.
J-Dub.
There's 8K TV. Listen, there's 8K TVs out there, but not many people are buying into it, and they're not mass producing those. I think 4K has been the sweet spot for a while
So,
now.
you know what's so stupid is this idea, right? Yeah, and honestly, when you actually analyze it, it is beyond insanity. Oh, but 8K, it's better on bigger screens. Yeah, with bigger screens, you have to sit further away, you donut. So it's the exact same size as the smaller screen that was in front of you at 4K.
Wait.
For goodness sake. Like,
Hold on.
bro.
I gotta correct you
You got
just
J-Dub.
a little bit. I just gotta correct you just a little bit.
J-Dub, bro, come on. You have all the goods, J-Dub. You have all the goods.
Yeah, I guess. So here's the thing.
Just a reminder, we don't have a dedicated theater in our houses.
Well, that's
Just put it in there, J-Dub.
Okay. So
Just remember, J-Dub, mate, you are the king of the hustle when it comes to
you got it.
hardware.
We're just letting you know, J-Dub.
All the bells and whistles,
P-Rock.
Hey, put around. I was just gonna say, and I'll be right up on my shit, and I can't see no pixels, no nothing.
Yo, J-Dub. Yo, P-Rock, J-Dub said that's a you problem. Listen, that's what he said.
I know it should be a problem. I just want him to be empathetic. Show some empathy. You know, show some empathy to the little guy.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Jay.
Hey, but to be fair, man, listen, I'll tell you, I took the biggest L. My brother Post Up, he gave me the biggest L because when the PS5 came out,
you got an L from Post Up, bro. That is bad.
But I got to redeem myself. This was back in 2020 before the consoles launched. They showed a demo of Gran Turismo Sport running at 8K 60 or something like that. And I said, oh shit, I'm gonna, this PS5, Gran Turismo is gonna be 8K 60. I'm gonna go ahead and give me an 8K TV. So I bought an 8K TV, expensive as fuck. Hoping, just thinking, hey, listen, well, it never happened, right, on the base PS5. But once they did a patch for GT7 with the Pro, hey, I was able to take get those tweets back and be like, hey,
Yeah. And you can still play the tourist, bro. You can still play the tourist, so it's all good, bro.
Yeah. No,
but it could be worse. It could be worse, bro. It could be worse, right? You could be blessed rad. You spent all that money on a 4090 just to still be forced to compromise because he's conditioned to only being able to play games at 200 FPS. So there you go. I mean, you could be that loser. It could be.
You got it.
Could be really bad.
We got to give some respect to the CPUs out there, right? Not just the 4090s there, Willie.
That's true.
Right? We got to give some respect to those CPUs out there. Shout out to the great Raji. He says, P-Rock being super selfish. I want my game, and I want it now. PS5 is a marketplace, remember? And you cannot deny the number of first-party games. Raji's not having it, P-Rock. Liquid Tada, he says, good evening, gentlemen. Yo, Liquid, I appreciate you being here, man. I know you wrote that a long time ago. Willie says, show's been entertaining, though, and spoiler-free. Willie, thank you for that. Shout out to Willie and P-Rock for a great show tonight. Raji, he's back. Absolutely. He says, in your ideal world, P-Rock, no games get canceled. I don't know that he's saying that, Raji, but I do think that, I don't think he said that.
I'm going to say this. Okay. Let's make this clear, right? We all know game development's taking longer. We all know that. That is a problem that has to be resolved in some fashion. Some people have different opinion. Deathstring is like, stop releasing AAA games and make everything a single A game or whatever.
No.
No. I'm not saying everybody has a difference. Some other people, like Wooly, doesn't see a problem at all. He's cool if Naughty Dog only makes one game. And that's oh well. It is what it is. Everybody has a different view. But I think majority of the times when gamers who've been playing for a long time and they're like, man, during this gen, I was able to play, Uncharted 1, 2, 3, and they released Naughty Dog. Or when I play Kojima games, I play Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, and Zone of Enders. Or when I played Rockstar. Remember the time when Rockstar, you got Grand Theft Auto. Hell, look at PlayStation 2, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, Manhunt, Midnight Club, the Warriors, and I get it. Game development has become so big.
Games.
Yeah, they can't. Well, no, those were the big AAAs of those time, but I get it. Graphics, assets has ballooned so much. I also think, the Always Online made, Rockstar be like, fuck this. We could release a game once every 15 years. I get that too, right? But I understand game development ballooned so much that developers have to invest 5, 6, 7 years to make a game. But how does the publisher, right, be like, all right, we have a platform, we have a console. Our developers, which used to go from making Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 and The Last of Us, now they're stuck doing remasters and maybe one game. We clearly see negative feedback. How do we resolve this? They got to figure something out. Something's got to be resolved. It's just this, because if not, we'll just end up buying 7-year consoles and get one game from a studio. And I don't know
I can
if
tell
that's
you
something
how to fix
gamers are
it.
going to be like, what the hell?
I can tell you how to fix it. Easy. Just look at the top 20 games that games or gamers are buying and spending their time and their money. Get rid of them shits. And if gamers should stop supporting those, right? If gamers should stop focusing on those and buying the games that release, then these companies will be like, hey, the data shows that they're going towards a single player game and this type of game and that type of game. They're no longer with this other shit. But as long as Fortnite is there, as long as Roblox and Warzone and all that stuff is there, and that's where the bulk of gamers are spending their time. I mean, it's data 101.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the thing is, those games are old.
I get it, but
That
that's where
game's just
gamers
been out
are.
for 5, 6, 7. I can
But that's
understand
where the
if
gamers are.
no, but what I'm saying, I can understand if like live service games kind of recycled and like every 2, 3 years, like the top 20 games are these new live service games, but they're not. It's perpetually Fortnite.
Yes.
It's perpetually Apex.
The
So like,
platforms.
in my opinion, the industry missed the boat. You're stuck. You might be lucky, like Marvel Rivals, but look what it took for Marvel to be successful. They got literally the most popular superhero characters in the entire planet. Who does PlayStation have? It's going to be
Well,
Jack and Daxter versus Drake?
but
I
that
ain't give a
doesn't
shit
even,
about that.
Right.
but that
That's
that
true.
doesn't even guarantee success because look what
Yeah,
Square
that's
Enix
true. Because
with,
look,
with
I
the,
think
with
DC tried to
the
do that, right? With
yeah,
Multiverse.
yeah. So
And they
it's like
failed. They had Scooby Doo, Batman, and
yeah.
that also shut down. So
Yeah.
technically,
You
even if
don't
you do
know.
have popular characters, you're not guaranteed
Yeah.
success.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's just all I have is the data, and the data just shows like fucking these guys keep fucking playing this bullshit. And I'm not knocking anybody for what they like, and it's just like fuck, man. Like again, like
But it's
there's
not
a
every
reason
gamer.
GTA 5. No, it's not. But here's the thing: the industry is looking at that list. They're not looking at the guys that's playing the other games, right? They're just looking at hey, this
Yeah, but you know
consistently.
what? So Jay, listen,
Uh-huh.
just so I can actually even bring up Doom on tonight's show. So what you guys are talking about is interesting. When you say they're playing the same, like you have Doom: The Dark Ages out now, right? And it's sitting at a decent Metacritic, right? It's, no, but a lot of some of the critics, their problem was that they just feel like the game didn't take advancements to the right place, and it's more of the same Doom, which they say is great, by the way. They say it's great, but it's more of the same stuff. They didn't really change much. Eternal changed things with platforming. That actually backfired a bit, so I think they maybe went back a little bit. So when you say these things, and gamers want to play what's comfortable and this and that, Doom: The Dark Ages is a great example, is it not? It's like, well, they made a game, right? It's probably going to sell really well. It's going to be played for a while. And it'll have the same fate as the other Dooms. So at the end of the day, not just to switch it up a little bit. What I mean, as far as Doom: The Dark Ages go, Jay, what do you think? I mean, did you get a chance to play? And if you didn't, I'm sure you saw some footage. Not saying that's the same as playing it by no means, but what's your thoughts on the game? Did they change it enough? Did they do enough to kind of motivate you to want to play it, or you're like, nah, I've played Eternal, I played 2016, I'm good.
I played 2016. I played Eternal. I'm okay. I'm gonna get the game only because my son wants to play it. You know, it's not my type of game anymore. It's gotten to, it's just I'm done. I've outgrown it. I've outgrown Doom. So, but I'm okay with that. Not say I think it's a great game. I think it's a great series and franchise and stuff like that. I just don't think it can replicate the glory days anymore. It has great Metacritic, right? Great reception, it seems like, but I just don't think it's going to have legs because there's other games. It's just people are just going to move on to, and that's another thing, right? It's just as much as we like all of these games to be out and come. We have to admit there's just a lot of fucking games, and to compound that with a bunch of other stuff out there, maybe that's why we only get 2 or 3 first party games a year, because it's like shit. You got at least 200 third-party games. You got about 10 second-party games, and then on top of the traditional, your Madden, your 2K, your Fortnite, and all the live service games that are already there. I don't know, bro. Listen, I don't know how to fix this gaming problem or issue that in the industry because I'm a gamer. I love my single player story driven game. I love getting into that. That's my main genre. I love my racing sims. That's my secondary main genre. The live service stuff and shooters I get into every now and then, when I think it's something that can grab my attention. But other than that, I don't, but but the oxymoron of that is I'm on Helldivers 2 basically every day, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have thought that, but like every day, every weekend, I'm on it, and
Yeah, I know.
I don't know, man. Every gamer is just different, and our requirements are just different, and it's hard to,
But
to say that.
Jay, you make a great point. And honestly, P-Rock, what Jay's saying, just to piggyback off that, P-Rock, Doom, the dark, what is it, the Dark Ages? That's a legit, it's more Doom, right? But that's not even a bash. It's actually saying, listen, some of the developers are listening. They don't want them to reinvent the wheel. Like, I know that they did a couple different things. They have the shield in this one. It's a more open. I heard some of the levels are really wide open. Some of the things, the critics kind of dinged them on that a little bit, but P-Rock, so this is what happens. New IPs come out, they don't do so well, right? Now, Expedition 33 being the exception of the recent batch. But like when it comes down to it, is that what it is? We're just going to get more of what we know, like Fallout 5. We're going to get more Doom. We're going to get more of what we know. They're not going to push the envelope anymore. Or do you think, no, Doom the Dark Ages, great the way they made it. Perfect.
Wait, I may have missed your question.
Mike, is it more of the same as safe? Cause I'm kind of tying it in with our old conversation with developers and what they're going to make and how they can put things out quickly. And they can put games out faster when they make more of what we become comfortable with.
Well, that's a strategy, which
I'm asking you. I mean, because right? You saw Doom the Dark Ages, P-Rock. Does it look like they really changed the? No,
I didn't play Doom the Dark Ages.
No, but you've seen it.
I seen it. Yeah, I'm saying no. So I say like Doom the Dark Ages, right?
Right.
It's Doom. It's more Doom.
It's
You're not gonna get a dramatic. Like some games are not gonna have a complete overhaul like God of War, right? From the original source material. It's just not going to happen, right? So a game like Doom, which was birthed as a first-person shooter,
that's right.
You're not going to get a complete overhaul because that's the fan base. It's Doom. So when you release a Doom, there's certain expectations, kind of like Halo. You're not going to get a complete overhaul of Halo because it's Halo. Just like Gears. You're not going to get a complete overhaul of Gears because it's Gears. You understand what I'm saying? You just want, most likely good competent stuff. But that doesn't mean you don't have another studio that takes a chance on a new IP or a new rig.
No, like, absolutely.
It's like Naughty Dog. Obviously their next game is Intergalactic Heretic, Prophecy, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say their next game after we find out and they announce is The Last of Us 3. Well, they're not going to overhaul The Last of Us 3. You're going to get more Last of Us 3. Obviously, they're going to do some things to make it better, whatever. But at its core, it's The Last of Us 3. Yeah. It's not going to play like Call of Duty or anything like that. At its core, it's The Last of Us 3. So you can handle both. You can handle. I mean, a good example of last gen, Naughty Dog has Uncharted, so it was Uncharted, and then they released The Last of Us 2. Last of Us 2. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can balance titles on new IPs and consistent IPs that are enduring. Doom is one of those enduring games. Those games is just going to stay Doom forever, and people love it. The fans love it. I think, if anything, it'd be detrimental if you completely change it, because then people will be like, "This isn't Doom. You might as well just created a new IP. Why didn't you just make a new IP and leave Doom alone?"
And that's the Puerto Rock. That's the downside when you're dealing with franchises like Gears and Halo. If you venture off too much from what gamers, the hardcore gamers, know of it, you're gonna lose. And that's it. You try to turn Halo into COD, you're gonna lose. It has to stay the same. But then people are like, "Well, it's the same.
It's the same, right?"
Listen, I would never want to be in game development.
No, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
You're damned if you, that's right. Yeah, exactly. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And here's the thing: I know we love brand new IP. I know I love brand new IP, but most gamers don't support brand new IP like
No.
that. It's just we see
No.
brand new IP. Oh, this is great. This is brand new IP. Let me try it. And it's like,
Right.
and then they fucking go back to that top 20 playlist.
But
and it's like,
Jay, it almost takes a situation, and I'll use Death Singer's favorite, one of his favorite developers, Obsidian, right? So when when the first Outer Worlds came out, yes, I understand there was a fan base that was all excited. But I think Outer Worlds took the hit so that Outer Worlds 2 can be that triumphant game, right? Because Avowed comes out, right? Avowed, listen, I understand that, you follow Xbox, and you're like, 4 million people stopped by and pressed A. Okay, cool. Yeah. But like, if Avowed comes out with Avowed 2 and they take a step forward, like I think that Outer Worlds 2 will take a decent step forward, then you have yourself a franchise, right? That's how you kind of have to do it. So the first game in a new IP sometimes gets kicked around, gets a little bit more criticism. Then you take those criticisms, put that into your mix, and then you say, let them actually cook and then make something that's quality, right? So I think Outer Worlds 2 will be something that's phenomenal. I mean, like Avowed, I played Avowed. Avowed was good. It was very good. It was a lot better than I thought. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun gameplay. I loved the worlds. The color palette was unbelievable. I mean, just everything was just so vibrant. But it definitely needs I think it needs a little refinement, a little TLC. You know what I mean? And if they make an Avowed 2, I think they may have something on their hands.
The thing about Outer Worlds, you have to remember, Outer Worlds 1 was under Private Division, and it had a budget of $5 million. Like, wow. The first Outer Worlds had hardly any budget. It was obviously they were still in
that's true. Good point.
Yeah, like the Private Division, they're not going to give you a whole bunch of 2K's money, right? You're the little side project. So they managed to pull the Outer Worlds with such limited resources. Mm-hmm. Now they have resources. I expect the Outer Worlds to be so much better.
Death Singer, I'm right there with you. The only problem is throwing money at a developing team doesn't necessarily result in a great game. And
the development team.
I know. No. I know they are. And you always go to Obsidian. That's fine. But like what is it there? Hellblade 2 says hello. And it's
that's Ninja Theory, though. I mean,
well, I'm just saying before that came out, everybody was saying Ninja Theory was, the next greatest thing, and it's like, okay, all right, and
Hey, to be fair, that game did worse than the first one, which is crazy.
It did, and then you have the team. You have the team that came out with Redfall, and what were they saying? That team never. Yeah. What was the name of that developing team?
They don't miss.
They don't miss.
They don't miss.
Yeah, Arcane don't miss. It's like, all right, so.
The thing is, people, studios are going to do whatever they're going to do, right? It's like a lot of studios on Earth have had misses. Like Rockstar's had misses, CD Projekt's definitely had misses. Like everyone's had a miss because you think you know what you're doing, and then when it comes to reception from the gamers, they turn around and just say "fuck you." And you're like, okay, I take the hit. I take the hit.
Right.
Like, let me go back to what, like, I'm sure after Hellblade 2, Ninja Theory sat back and was like, okay, let's go back to what we were doing.
Right.
It didn't work. Like, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I really, really do. So, I mean, did anybody on the panel get a chance to play? I know Doom came out today, and I know everybody works, so it's like it's not easy for you to just come home, do a podcast, and turn on a system and play. Is Death Singer? Are you picking this up? Jay says he hasn't gotten to it yet. Porter Rock hasn't gotten to it yet. Death Singer, are you picking this up?
I am picking it up, but I'm in the middle of currently playing other games, and
so that's fair.
I'm gonna have to throw it onto my backlog, I think, because I've already got I have like Monster Hunter Wilds on my backlog. I think Assassin's Creed Shadows is on my backlog. Like, it's spooky out here.
It's so many games out. Celebrate. Catch up, man, because it's like, and then we got Doom just dropped. Then Death Stranding 2 is right behind it.
That's right.
And the other game, it's just, bro. So while I'll agree, like I would love for all these studios to go back to the glory days of when they released a shitload of games, every year, every other year. Then the grown up me is like, when would I ever be able to buy those games and play them if it's more than what it is now? Unless I just totally cut out the third party games and just play first party games, and it's not what I do. So.
Mm-hmm. No, this is true. This is true. So here's what I'll do, guys. It's well after the 3-hour mark here. I'm gonna have to change the title to just Doom and Jade Raymond. We didn't get to the other 11 topics tonight. Great conversation, though. Honestly, we haven't had a traditional Crossfire in a while, so I gotta tip my cap to the great Porter Rock and the great Willie Gamer, giving the audience exactly what they showed up for. I do have a couple super chats, guys, so hang tight real quick. I do have Ryan Landis. He says, what if they were 2 years in on Concord 2 when Concord launched? So again, some of these are a little bit older. Ryan, I apologize. I didn't get that on point. Liquid Tadas says Insomniac has killed it with quality and quantity this gen. So me and Willie were talking about that. Liquid was chiming in. He says, and a new siphon filter would be mean. And then Glinser is making fun of JW missed this, but Porter Rock gave Deathsinger about 15 new names. So he says, Glinser says, thanks to Moog, Winegold Gamer, Jay Dunya, Wolfie Gamer, Porter Rom, and Death Swinger. So he named all of us over. So Glinser, that was
Death Swinger, bro.
that was really great.
I like doing that. That's actually good. Death Swinger.
That's actually not bad, Death Swinger. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's that's got a zing to it. So Glinser, thank you guys. Thank you so much for the super chats. Outstanding show tonight. The amount of discussion points going on with the panel through the chat and the chat with the chat, absolutely amazing tonight. Guys, I'm going to go in reverse order here, but I do want to quickly remind everybody, please hit that like button. Still 265 people here. We are just about 400 people tonight, which is fantastic. Fantastic group with us this evening. And don't forget, we are going to be over. You guys did hit that goal, so we are going to start streaming again on Mooch TV over on Twitch, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun because, like I said, this generation, as we go into the second half of it, the one thing you heard Death Singer say it, you heard everyone on the panel say it, lots of games. We're going to be flooded year in and year out moving forward. And I love podcasting. You guys know it. But the one thing I like to do is play games. And I want to play games with you guys over on Twitch. Going to be doing at least, 3-4 nights a week we'll be doing some gaming, and it's going to be great, ranging from certain things like Warzone to Expedition 33 and just playing games and having a great time. So go over and follow me over on Twitch if you get a chance. Same thing, M00CHTV. But I'll go in reverse order here, and I'll say shout out and thanks to the great Willie Gamer who was with us. Willie, outstanding to have you as always, buddy, and thank you so much. I want special thanks to Willie Gamer for taking time tonight, because I said to him, hey, Willie, if you got a chance, please join the podcast. And not only did he join the podcast, he was a major component of tonight's show. Willie, thanks. I know it's really, really late over there in your neck of the woods, and I can't say thank you enough. Thanks for your input. Let people know where they can find you. Now, I know. I'm sure you are. That was a hell of a coffee.
T-Rock, Blash Red and Corey got me all...
they got you riled up. Yeah,
we went... Bro, I'm just amazed at Porter Rock's fine art. He's got it down to a fine art.
Oh, he's very good.
He's able to agree with you and make you agree with him in the most argumentative way possible.
Yes.
And I don't know how he does it, but bro, it's impressive.
He's a seasoned veteran.
He is a seasoned veteran.
We agree on 99%. That 1%, he'll go at an octave almost as high as Persona, not quite, but he'll go on that 1% hard.
Because I'm using voice meter banana to adjust my octave.
Yeah, just never go as high as...
It's filtering the pure power of the Puerto Rican voice.
Never go as high as Persona, bro.
Off, it's on.
Yeah. Let them know where they can find your rant, Willie, too, because you did a great rant before the show even started.
Yeah, Wooly Gamer YT on Twitter. And watch this space, guys. Summit's cooking. Summit's very, very, very exciting is cooking with regards to my YouTube channel. And all I can say about that is keeping on gaming. And also, one more thing. Shout out to Blessred, man. He's been fun tonight. And Blessred, just do us a favor, brother. Keep blowing on that precious PC of yours, on that 4090. Keep those frames high by keeping that system cool, because God forbid if it goes below 140, the game's unplayable, bro. You can't play it. It's unplayable, bro. You precious little thing. You won't be able to play your games anymore under 140 FPS. So please keep that PC cool. Keep blowing on it. do whatever you got to do, bro, to keep that PC nice and cool. Also, shout out to Corey. Like, we've done a full drama in this chat tonight. He ended up agreeing with me and like against Bless Red, and he was like, the enemy of my enemy is Wooly, and therefore Wooly is my ally. And it was just, bro, it was such a camaraderie moment. It kind of gave me, it gave me feels, bro. It was beautiful. And shout out to Warawana, man, in the chat. You've been awesome. And guys, just hashing it up with you all on the panel tonight. It's been A1. It's been absolutely sensational. Loved it.
Great to have you here, Wooly. Equally, show was the other side of the coin was the great Porter Rock 77. And a quick shout out to Porter Rock as well. Same as Wooly. I reached out to him. I said, P-Rock, if you got a chance, Ben, love to have you on the show tonight. A lot of stuff that just kind of broke in the news, and I know this would kind of get his tempers flared in a great way for podcasting. P-Rock, as always, bringing your talents to CrossFire, and I can't thank you enough. Let everybody know where they can find you. And again, thanks for answering the call tonight. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, appreciate it. It was just so happened I was able to get off work early, and I'm like, you know
Great.
what? Hell yeah.
Much appreciated.
Anyway, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the invite. I truly appreciate it. Porter Rock 77. You can find me here on YouTube or on Twitter, Porter Rock 77 _ or on Blue Sky, Porter Rock 77. Check out the podcast. I'm trying to hook up Crap Gamer to be a guest.
Yes.
This Friday on Friday Night Live.
Let's go.
So now you know the world's definitely ending.
Let's go.
So, batten down the hatches on that one, but we'll see. We'll see if we can make it happen, but that's gonna be interesting. Who would have thought, right?
I love it. I love it.
All right, but thank you.
Great to have you, Porter Rock, and I'm looking forward to that show on Friday. If Crap's able to make it, I'll be in the audience. Shout out to the great Death Swinger. You guys know him as Death Singer. Death Singer, great to have you, buddy. I know you said you're going to be 30 minutes late. Luckily, the show went 3 hours and 25 minutes. So even though you were an hour and a half late, you basically caught a whole show.
Thing is, I knew it would. I was banking on it going 4 hours. So like, cool, it's because it is what it is. There's that. Even though I'm an hour and a half, I was out driving, and I was like, "You'll be fine." They're probably still on the first topic. Came in, they were still on the first topic.
We were too.
I could have put money on that. So it's just one of those things. We know how it goes. But yeah, you can find me everywhere playing games. That Stellar Blade PC trailer. All that got me all fired up. I can't wait. That's going to be peak cinema when that game comes out.
We all know that you are not going to be playing that game at all. You're just going to be modding it. And you're going to be putting that 4090, that 5090, whatever it is you got to like great use by just continuing to not actually play games. You're totally just going to mod the game.
I'll play the game. I'll mod it, but I'll also play the game. But you got to get those quality lives because these days you can't trust developers to do shit. Shout out to Starfield. That was a whole shit show. Shout out to
Don't you trash Shift Up, bro. Don't you trash Shift Up. Shift Up a quality.
No. I'm on about in general because, like, shout out when Naughty Dog tried to do that thing with The Last of Us. That was a whole shit show. Like, look, there are tons of developers now doing shit shows for some whatever reason, and it's like when I think of Starfield, like people on the internet had to put DLSS in the game because Bethesda didn't even bother doing it. Like, come on, this is basic motherfucking shit. So So the reason I'm gonna have it modded is because there's gonna be some interesting things going on, particularly with Stellar Blade. And like, you can figure it out, people. I don't have to spell it out to you. Come on, man. I want the definitive experience.
He won't be able to stream that game. You won't be able to stream
I won't. I definitely won't be able to.
Can't stream with one hand, bro. We can't stream with one hand.
I remember the discourse around Stellar Blade being, "Oh, they're censoring the characters." I don't have to worry about that. So we're good over here. Stellar Blade's going to be an experience.
You always never fail, Death Singer. Both you and Bless Red in the chat. You never fail to completely justify every argument against PCMR going. You never disappoint, bro. Like, I always come onto this show feeling completely validated and vindicated by the end of it. And I owe you all my thanks.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's great. You can always count on Death Singer, Wooly, anytime. Death Singer, great to have you. Jay, speaking of leaving the show, coming back, and being on the first topic, Jay, you left, you came back, and then you left again. You're back on the show. We're still on the first topic. So, Jay, listen, great to have you as always. I appreciate you were here for us, buddy. That was a big thing for me. Because I said, Jay, I need your help. He goes, Mooch, I'm there for you, buddy. Don't worry about it. We've been doing this for over 10 years. We know how to do it. So me and Jay kind of handled the first half hour, just answering questions and going over the first topic one-on-one. So, Jay, knowing you a long time, man, got a chance to know you even more over the last 6 years. It's been fantastic. Let people know where they can find you. And like I said when the show started, if they're not following you on X, I don't really know why they have that app.
Absolutely. Listen, man, you guys can find me on, I'm just going to say it anyway, Twitter at JDubCity16. I'm always trying to keep you guys laughing with goofy stuff. Enjoying the console war and stuff like that.
That's right.
Obviously, a great panel. Everybody that's been on the panel are my, I consider them close friends. Like you said, we've been doing this
bro, you're gonna make me cry.
Listen, on the weekends we're either hell divers or you listen. We're Concord brothers.
We're Concord brothers, bro.
That's right, Jay.
Bro.
Yeah, we took the L together,
bro.
brother. We're brothers. And
Mate,
me and Dead Stinker
so
for
much.
years have been back and forth on Twitter.
Oh,
With, funny stuff, keeping people laughing and stuff. It's I love what I do. I love what you guys do, and we've been doing this for so long, man. It's like one big family. We're all content creators. We've all been on each other's shows or gaming with each other and stuff like that. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? I think we need to stick together more closely now than ever, since Xbox
Agreed.
is taking the exit door. You know what I'm saying? So
Shout out to X-Hawk, man. We all love X-Hawk, even though we haven't seen him in the chat.
Yeah, we haven't. That's right. We haven't seen X-Hawk. That's right. We
love you, brother. We hope you're okay.
Yeah, hope he's all right.
Terrible take.
It has been a minute.
All right.
I will say though, Jay, you're not wrong. When Death Singer has a tweet out, it's literally less than 60 seconds, and you have a rebuttal with one of the funniest either gifs or memes I've ever seen.
Absolutely. We go back and forth and stuff like that. Another thing on YouTube, you guys can find me on Tuesdays on Porter Rock's 60 Frame No Lag.
That's right.
Me, him, Craig, and M. We're always in there having great topics and stuff like that. You can find me on Next Gen 720 channel as well. We go for the raw and the rugged, keeping you guys laughing from the bottom of your stomach, just being goofy.
Shout out to M, shout out to Craig, shout out to Z as well. Outstanding call outs, Jay. Appreciate that. You guys are all great. Please, again, hit that like button on the way out. We'll be back next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to hang out with Mooch this weekend, go over to twitch.tv, Mooch TV, M00CHTV. Again, guys. Yes, was that
Can I say some drama before we clip? Let me say one more drama before we leave.
Go ahead, P-Rock.
One last drama to get clipped.
Sure.
I'm going to say, I'm going to end off the show with this drama.
Sure.
I'm going to say like this, because I hear a lot of excuses. Oh, Sony's doing the right thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to say this shit. If Xbox would have bought Bungie, none of you motherfuckers will be hyping Marathon. And I'm going to end the show with that.
Oh! Wow. That is definitely clip-worthy, Porter Rock.
You'll all be threat. The same people defending it right now, I guarantee you will be shitting on that game.
Next Gen 720, bro. Let's go ahead.
I'm going to end off my combo with that. Y'all motherfuckers will be shitting on Marathon right fucking now as we speak.
This feels like a Next Gen 720 topic.
Hey, bro. I said that when this started. I said to the J-Dub, I said, I'm going with Persona. Persona was real hard on that game, and I'm thinking, I trust Persona, dude. He's not going to sit there and talk shit if it ain't real. It's real. And so Marathon's coming in rough. It's coming in rough.
First party.
Coming in rough.
First party.
Hey, Willie, we got a Concord marathon, brother. We got to hold it up. We got to hold the line. We got to hold the line with it.
Every time you mention the name Concord, a tear wells up in my eye.
We have fun.
45 hours. That's 45 hours of pure, unadulterated joy. Yeah. I will never get back.
At least they can't take our achievements away from us. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's facts, bro.
We held the line, brother.
We hold the line.
Hold the line. Well, guys, we'll see you guys next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, guys. Catch you guys next week. Thanks again to the great panel. Thanks to the great channel and Pat, the panel and the chat. You guys are all fantastic. And again, go over and check out the twitch.tv. Peace out. Good night.
Peace out.
Peace.
Deathslinger.